Chapter 524. Yin Chuan, you want to stop me? The heavenly maiden asked again. No, I'll help you, Yin Chuan said after taking a deep breath. Yin Chuan, you bastard, Meng Rongrong Jiahu said. Yin Chuan had mixed feelings about the heavenly maiden. In fact, Yin Chuan had already guessed that the heavenly maiden was not Jinro. However, there was always a glimmer of hope, because there were too many coincidences. For Jinro, Yin Chuan did not want to give up even though he knew that there was a dead end ahead. You'll help me? No need. The heavenly maiden shook her head. With that, the heavenly maiden walked to the side of the black pool. With a wave of her hand, a ribbon flew out of her sleeve and wrapped around the glazed pagoda. No! Yin Chuan immediately shouted. The heavenly maiden frowned and turned back. The glazed pagoda is aimed at the black rose. Once the pagoda is taken away, the black rose will instantly release the evil aura that corrodes us. It will be even more powerful than the poisonous sparrow. We cannot take it away. We have to deal with the black rose first. Yin Chuan said in a deep voice. The heavenly maiden nodded. The ribbon loosened and shot toward the black rose, as if she wanted to subdue it first. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The end of the ribbon was suddenly corroded clean. What's wrong? The heavenly maiden raised her brows. The half-corroded ribbon fell into the black pool below. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The black water instantly corroded the ribbon again. What a heavy evil aura! The heavenly maiden exclaimed. With that, the heavenly maiden took out a purple jade box. The jade box released a faint light and moved toward the black rose. Sizzle! The jade box instantly corroded again. How is that possible? The purple jade box is a Tier 9 Dharma treasure. It's only one step away from an immortal artifact. The heavenly maiden exclaimed. Buzz! The Jade Emperor sword on Yin Chuan's back trembled violently, as if it was excited about something. Yin Chuan frowned and took out the Jade Emperor sword. Let me try. Yin Chuan stepped forward. You! Fairy revealed a look of disbelief. Yin Chuan walked forward, mostly because of the Jade Emperor's sword's thoughts. The Jade Emperor's sword was excited? Yin Chuan had experienced this kind of excitement before. In the past, when he killed people and sucked their blood, he was excited. However, it was not as intense as now. Could it be that the Jade Emperor's sword could also absorb this evil aura? He probingly inserted the Jade Emperor's sword into the side of the pool. Golyalu! The Jade Emperor's sword suddenly made a sound like it was drinking water. Rumble! A large amount of evil aura suddenly gathered towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The evil aura grew denser and denser. The surroundings of the Jade Emperor's sword instantly turned pitch black. Fairy exclaimed in surprise. Yin Chuan was even more surprised. The Jade Emperor's sword was already evil enough. Was it not enough? Golyalu! The water in the small pool churned and flowed towards the shore, towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword instantly turned pitch black. Its entire body glowed with a dark light. What kind of sword is that? Fairy exclaimed. Not only Fairy, but Meng Rongrong also looked at Yin Chuan's Jade Emperor's sword in surprise. Jade Emperor! Yin Chuan frowned. The Jade Emperor's sword did not need him to activate it. It absorbed the water on its own as if it was a rare tonic. Golyalu Golyalu! More and more black water in the small pool gathered towards the Jade Emperor's sword. After half an hour, the black pool dried up. All the black water was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword was surrounded by black aura, making it impossible for anyone to get close. This was not the end. The black aura connected to the black rose in mid-air, as if it was extracting the evil aura of the black rose. Buzz! Chapter 525. The black rose let out a rumbling sound, as if it was trying to stop the black gas from leaking out. At this moment, the glazed pagoda suddenly emitted a dazzling rainbow light that shot towards the black rose. In an instant, the black rose was suppressed by the pagoda and struggled bitterly. On the other side, the Jade Emperor's sword was violently absorbing the nourishing energy. Rumble! The black rose's evil energy was flowing towards the Jade Emperor's sword. The Jade Emperor's sword slowly emitted a faint black sword energy. Your sword has a sword spirit. The heavenly lady was shocked. It's not fully cultivated. It's only in its embryonic form. It should be a type of instinct. Yin Chuan shook his head. Yin Chuan also looked at the Jade Emperor's sword in shock. Yin Chuan was sure that the Jade Emperor's sword spirit was rapidly improving and condensing. Rumble! The black gas surged towards the black rose, causing it to tremble. As if it couldn't take it anymore, the glazed pagoda emitted an even brighter light that shot towards the black rose. Gradually, a petal of the black rose suddenly fell. It was as if the black rose was withering. The falling petal turned into a black gas in the air and was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword again. Your sword extracted the evil aura of the black rose and extracted its essence? It seems so. Yin Chuan nodded seriously. The Jade Emperor's sword was trembling violently. It was emitting a joyful sound. Sword spirit? Is it really going to complete the sword spirit? Yin Chuan was shocked. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anticipation and worry. He was anticipating that the sword spirit was about to be completed. It took him thousands of years to cultivate the sword spirit in his previous life. In this life, it only took him a few years. He was worried that the sword spirit wasn't cultivated by him. He had to quickly subdue it. Otherwise, the Jade Emperor's sword would no longer recognize him as its master. Whoosh! The black rose continued to wither as the Jade Emperor's sword absorbed the evil energy. Iron Jade Essence? But why can it contain the evil energy? The Heavenly Lady was confused. My sword is no longer pure Iron Jade Essence. It mutated after being tainted by the evil energy of the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus. It seems that the black rose and the 10,000 Wonders demonic lotus are of the same origin. Yin Chuan frowned. Whoosh! 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 The petals withered, and the black rose became smaller and smaller. Gradually, it was absorbed by the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The glazed pagoda. The Heavenly Lady reached out her hand to. The pagoda emitted a dazzling light. Rise! The Heavenly Maiden shouted. Rumble! The pagoda was lifted up by the Holy Maiden, and the ground around it began to shake strangely. Mountains to the ground to break, it was to be a strong earthquake. Young Master Yen Miss Meng will meet again. The Holy Maiden carried the pagoda and soared into the sky, flying into the distance. The pagoda. Ituchichitu. Tituit Radiant World. Great Morality Area. As Lu Zilu and the others entered deeper into the palace, they gradually saw a large number of palaces. Everyone rushed over excitedly and entered a large hall. So many books! A Confucian exclaimed. The Confucian scholars took out different books and started reading. Are these books from 30,000 years ago? 30,000 years ago? A Confucian scholar said excitedly. What a dense righteous energy! If I meditate here, my cultivation will definitely increase tenfold with this scripture. Chapter 526. The Confucian scholars looked on excitedly. In the depths of the palaces, the door to a large hall with the words Hall of Light on it suddenly opened. A skinny old man stepped out. He was dressed in white and had a diamond-shaped mark in between his eyebrows. His expression was cold, and his eyes were deep like a deep pool. The old man glanced at the palace where Lu Zilu and the rest were, then turned to look at the miasma area in the distance. The miasma is decreasing? The demonic rose has been taken by someone? Who? The old man's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, a colorful light shot into the sky. The colorful light was extremely dazzling, and wherever it passed, the miasma would be purified. A lady was flying quickly with a pagoda. That bastard Meng Ziqiu. How dare he let so many people sneak into the world of light and steal our treasure? The old man stared. As the old man stared, the Heavenly Maiden in the distance held the pagoda in one hand, and the heavenly disk in the other. Star power! The Heavenly Maiden shouted. Boom! The heavenly disk emitted a white light. In the sky of Jilu City outside the world of light, the 300 stars that had dimmed suddenly became dazzling again. Whoosh! Endless light shot down from the starry sky, causing the citizens of Jilu City to be shocked. Similarly, it came quickly and left even faster. In the blink of an eye, the dazzling stars disappeared. Outside the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar, a group of Confucian scholars stood guard, not allowing anyone to enter. The 100 Saints' Righteousness altar was empty. Whoosh! Whoosh! Behind the statue of Goddess Ji Chun, 10 expressionless men walked out. There was also a huge green phoenix carriage. They were the subordinates of the Heavenly Maiden. They had not left Jilu City and had been hiding here. They were waiting for the Heavenly Maiden's signal. The 10 expressionless men formed a circle and attacked the entrance of the world of light at the same time. Hong! A loud sound echoed throughout the entire Jilu City. In an instant, the entrance of the world of light opened again. What's that sound? The Confucian scholars exclaimed outside. Quick, inform the dean! Someone shouted. A few Confucian scholars rushed into the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar. Bastard, who are you people? The Confucian scholars shouted. However, the Heavenly Maiden's subordinates did not care. Rumble! A huge glazed pagoda emerged from the entrance. Fairy rushed out with the pagoda in her hand. Let's go! Heavenly Maiden jumped onto the carriage and shouted. The figures of the 10 wooden men suddenly swayed and turned into 10 huge blue wands. 12 blue wands bit the ropes of the huge chariot and immediately soared into the sky. Who, with a terrifying speed, he instantly turned into a green stream of light and shot far away. Where do you think you're going? At the entrance, another white light soared into the sky. The old man with the diamond-shaped mark between his eyebrows chased after them. His speed was so fast that it shocked the group of great scholars. Who is this person? Someone asked in shock. In the light world, black gas surrounded the Jade Emperor's sword. Yin Chuan's eyes turned solemn. He had to suppress the sword spirit before it was fully formed. Although the black sword chi was wreaking havoc, Yin Chuan still resolutely walked over. He reached out and grabbed the Jade Emperor sword. Boom! The Jade Emperor sword emitted a dazzling black light, as if it was fiercely repelling Yin Chuan. Evil creature, how dare you! Yin Chuan glared. Boom! Yin Chuan's aura suddenly became stronger. The Jade Emperor sword's evil aura wreaked havoc and fiercely attacked Yin Chuan, trying to push Yin Chuan away. Roar! Yin Chuan's face instantly turned ferocious. The true dragon's will was released and clashed with the Jade Emperor sword's evil aura. However, the evil aura was too fierce. It was so fierce that even with Yin Chuan's will from his previous life, he could not suppress it. It was as if he would not be able to resist it very soon. The powerful evil aura even wanted to corrode Yin Chuan's body. Chapter 527. Yin Chuan, how are you? Meng Rongrong couldn't move, but she was still worried. Yin Chuan's current appearance was a little scary. His face was ferocious and his veins were bulging. Waves of tyrannical aura surged out. But the Jade Emperor sword's evil aura was too dense. Gagagagaga. It was as if hundreds of black demonic heads had appeared in an instant, resisting Yin Chuan's aura. Yin Chuan's hands had already turned pitch black. Moreover, this black color was spreading to his entire body. Bastard! If it wasn't for the fact that I lost everything from my previous life, I would only need one seal to kill you. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anger. Yin Chuan? Yin Chuan! Meng Rongrong said anxiously. At this moment, Yin Chuan naturally didn't have the time to care about Meng Rongrong. Holding the Jade Emperor sword, his eyes suddenly turned slightly red. Thump! 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 Huh! Yin Chuan's heart suddenly started beating faster and faster. Yin Chuan's hair also slowly turned red, and slowly grew longer. Ah! Meng Rongrong cried out in surprise. Yin Chuan's entire body was emitting bloody light. The bloody light outside his body seemed to be fighting against the evil aura. Super Theurgy, suppress the evil aura for me. Yin Chuan roared with a ferocious expression. Boom! Yin Chuan's aura rose rapidly. But it was still not enough. The evil aura was too strong. Looking up at the sky, Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of depression. Small world? With my current strength, I still can't forcefully use the power of the stars in a place without stars. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of helplessness. He used his super divine ability. His hair turned blood red, and his strength skyrocketed. Even with the will of the Emperor, he was still unable to suppress the evil energy. Yin Chuan's forearm had already turned completely black. The evil energy was continuously corroding his body. Are you going to give up the Jade Emperor sword? No, the Jade Emperor sword is mine. As long as I don't die, you will forever serve me. Yin Chuan roared. With a loud roar, The violent aura once again rushed into the Jade Emperor's sword. Rumble! The two powerful forces collided with each other, and the surrounding air shook as if a hurricane had blown past. Boom! Yin Chuan's arm emitted a series of loud bangs. The blood mist and black gas mixed together, making the inside of the Yin Chuan look incomparably evil. Yin Chuan, how are you? Meng Rongrong asked anxiously. Ka. In the collision, cracks seemed to have appeared on Yin Chuan's skin. The powerful force collided, and Yin Chuan's Qi realm body seemed to be unable to withstand it. Go back, roar. Yin Chuan's cracked skin suddenly spewed out a large amount of blood. His originally long hair suddenly grew again, and in the blink of an eye, it grew from his back all the way to his waist. Boom! On the ground, a huge blood lake suddenly rushed out from under Yin Chuan's feet. It appeared out of nowhere, as if Yin Chuan had created the blood lake with his steps. No, it should be a blood sea. However, at this moment, it was limited by Yin Chuan's cultivation, and the blood sea was too small. Even though the blood sea was too small, it instantly filled the entire valley. The blood sea swept up a huge wave that was 10 feet high, but it didn't continue to extend outwards. Once the blood sea appeared, it rumbled and absorbed the heaven and earth yuan qi from all directions. In the blood sea, Yin Chuan was no longer surrounded by blood mist. Instead, blood waves surrounded Yin Chuan, making him look like a sea demon. I'm here, go back into the sword. Yin Chuan roared. Boom! 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 Chapter 528. A large amount of black gas was forcefully pushed back, and the black gas on Yin Chuan's arm was slowly shrinking. On the other side, Meng Rongrong, who was submerged in the blood sea with only her head exposed, was shocked. This is? What's going on? Blood sea? Meng Rongrong was shocked. Yin Chuan's eyes were blood red as he turned to look at Meng Rongrong, his eyes filled with madness. Suppressing the evil energy, Yin Chuan took a deep breath. Super Theurgy second form? Blood sea realm? What a great feeling! Yin Chuan said with excitement. As the evil energy was being suppressed, Yin Chuan was also able to feel the second form of the bloodline theurgy. The blood sea realm? A sea of energy for him to use? Rumble! All the black gas was pushed back into the Jade Emperor sword. Phew! Yin Chuan laughed excitedly with a sense of unbridled arrogance. Just like before, the Jade Emperor sword once again sent a portion of its energy into Yin Chuan's body. Different from before, this time it asked for Yin Chuan's permission. Under normal circumstances, Yin Chuan would have to think about it calmly, but now, with the second form of the super theurgy, Yin Chuan's body was filled with excitement. Power, come! Phew! Waves of evil energy rushed into Yin Chuan's body. Boom! Yin Chuan's body made a loud sound. Third level of the Qi realm? Yin Chuan said excitedly. The powerful energy continued to rush into Yin Chuan's body, and Yin Chuan enjoyed it. Gradually, Yin Chuan's face turned red. Phew! Phew! Yin Chuan's breathing became rapid. What's going on? My blood qi? Super Yin Chuan looked at the Jade Emperor sword in shock. Rose? Roses? Was it the black rose he had absorbed earlier? The essence of roses has an aphrodisiac effect? Black rose was even worse. What an overbearing effect. Not good. Super Yin Chuan's expression changed. Even now you still want to resist? Die, roar! With the heat of his boiling blood, Yin Chuan roared again. A powerful force rushed towards the Jade Emperor sword. The Jade Emperor's sword had wanted to put up a final resistance, but at that moment, Yin Chuan's power was too overbearing. With the addition of the heat, it pressed down on the Jade Emperor's sword. Boom! The Jade King's sword let out a loud boom. The resistance that was about to give birth to a sword spirit was completely destroyed by Yin Chuan's power. The surrounding black qi suddenly retracted into the Jade Emperor's sword. It did not dare to resist anymore. Yin Chuan had won. He had completely subdued the Jade Emperor sword. However, the aphrodisiac essence of the black rose was all poured into Yin Chuan's body. Yin Chuan's body became hotter and hotter. His eyes were bloodshot, and his thoughts were in a mess. It was as if he was lost in his desire. With nowhere to vent his desire, Yin Chuan fell into a frenzy. Ah! Yin Chuan roared in agitation. Yin Chuan, are you okay? A voice suddenly came from the sea of blood. This voice was like an outlet for him to vent his anger. The lost Yin Chuan suddenly turned his head. His eyes were filled with strong desire. Yin Chuan, what are you doing? Meng Rongrong suddenly felt that something was wrong. Whoosh! Yin Chuan rushed over and hugged Meng Rongrong. No. However, Yin Chuan had already lost his mind. He reached out and tore off their clothes. His blood-red hair wrapped around the two of them. His most primitive instinct was activated. As Meng Rongrong resisted, Yin Chuan's actions became more and more violent. Meng Rongrong's most beautiful dream was completely destroyed by Yin Chuan, who had lost his mind. Chapter 529. Yin Chuan, I hate you. Meng Rongrong cried out with tears in her eyes. But soon, she was immersed in Yin Chuan's violent charge. The heavenly lady rushed out of the radiant world, carried the pagoda, and boarded the green phoenix carriage. The 12 green phoenixes pulled the carriage at an astonishing speed. They rushed out of Jilu City in an instant, and continued to fly into the distance. But the person behind was even faster. The two of them chased, and neither of them was willing to stop. After 2 hours they finally caught up. The white-robed elder appeared in front of the green phoenix carriage. Ing! 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 The 12 green phoenixes cried out and stopped. The heavenly lady carried the pagoda, and stood in front of the carriage. Rumble! In the sky, rolling black clouds suddenly appeared, as though they were targeting the white-robed elder. If not for you, I would have caught up with this girl. The white-robed elder shouted at the black clouds in the sky. The diamond-shaped mark between the elder's eyebrows suddenly emitted a white light that enveloped him. Instantly, the thunderclouds in the sky became much smaller, but they still floated above the white-robed elder's head. Little girl, how dare you? The white-robed elder said coldly. The heavenly lady did not panic. Instead, she stood in front of the carriage and said calmly, the current heavenly lady of the Celestial Arcanum sect greets Senior. Celestial Arcanum sect? The white-robed elder frowned. May I ask who Senior is? The heavenly lady asked solemnly. I am Mingling Tian. The white-robed elder said. Mingling Tian? You are. The heavenly lady was surprised. That's right, you are right. Hand over the demonic rose and the glazed pagoda. For the sake of the Celestial Arcanum sect, I can let bygones be bygones. The white-robed elder Mingling Tian said in a deep voice. Let bygones be bygones? Senior, you have misunderstood. What I want is not to let bygones be bygones, but the promise of the Jilu Academy. Since you are Mingling Tian, I don't have to waste my breath. You also know about the promise. Since I have already obtained it, does the Jilu Academy want to go back on its words? The heavenly lady said in a deep voice. Meng Lingtian narrowed his eyes. Senior Meng, your Jilu Academy has a strong foundation, but my archaic arcanum sect isn't just an empty shell. If the Jilu Academy has someone like you, how could my archaic arcanum sect not have one? This was the agreement from back then. Could it be that you want to go back on your word? If you go back on your words, I guarantee that the archaic arcanum sect will come immediately, shouted the holy maiden. Ha 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 ha, little girl, are you trying to scare me? You're still too inexperienced. Come on. My Jilu Academy has never been afraid of anyone. Meng Lingtian said disdainfully. Senior Meng, is the Jilu Academy really going back on its word? The holy maiden asked in a deep voice. Meng Lingtian's face darkened. This item will only be safeguarded by my Celestial Arcanum sect. My Celestial Arcanum sect will set up obstacles. In the future, if anyone from the Jilu Academy has the ability, they can go to the Celestial Arcanum sect to retrieve it. How about it? Said the heavenly maiden. Rumble. The dark clouds above Meng Lingtian's head continued to rumble, as if they would strike down at any moment. Looking at the dark clouds above his head, Meng Lingtian's face darkened. Senior Meng, let's leave the matters of the younger generation to the juniors. Back then, the third-generation headmaster of the Jilu Academy made an agreement with my sect. No matter what, Senior, don't worry. We won't violate the rules set down by Invincible East back then, Fairy said solemnly. Looking at the holy maiden, Meng Lingtian revealed a strange smile. Ha 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 ha. A junior from the Celestial Arcanum sect? Alright, I won't interfere. However, you must take good care of these 2 items. I will select a Julu Academy disciple to personally teach them. When the time comes, I will come to the Archaic Arcanum sect to retrieve the treasures. Meng Lingtian shouted. Thank you, Senior Meng, for granting my wish. The Holy Maiden will definitely not forget. The Holy Maiden smiled. Let's go. Meng Lingtian flicked his sleeve. Let's go. Fairy shouted. Hum. Hum. Qing Yuan pulled Fairy and shot far away in an instant. Meng Lingtian's expression was gloomy as he watched the Holy Maiden leave. He then looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. After leaving the radiant world, wherever I go, you chase after me. How annoying! Meng Lingtian shouted at the dark clouds in annoyance. Rumble! The dark clouds rumbled. It was as if they were warning Meng Lingtian. I know. Go back. I'll go back to the radiant world, okay? You're the boss. Meng Lingtian was annoyed and speechless. Chapter 530. The World of Light. Yin Chuan, who had lost himself, gradually regained his senses after the rain stopped, and his lust dissipated. Furthermore, for some unknown reason, his blood-red hair slowly turned black, and his heartbeat slowed down. Everything returned to normal. The blood sea around him receded. Yin Chuan's cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Qi realm. 2 levels in a row. But Yin Chuan didn't care about his cultivation at this moment, because there was a bigger problem in front of him. He was completely naked, and there was a naked woman underneath him. It was Meng Rongrong. Meng Rongrong seemed to have fallen asleep, but the dried tears at the corner of her eyes told him everything that had happened. What? Yin Chuan looked at himself and Meng Rongrong in shock. Suddenly, everything that had happened before flashed through his mind. Thinking about everything that had happened, Yin Chuan's face showed a trace of bitterness. At the same time, he looked down at Meng Rongrong with a trace of guilt in his eyes. He gently got up and carefully pulled himself out of Meng Rongrong's body. Maybe it was a little too big of a movement, or maybe it was because Meng Rongrong's wounds hadn't healed. But Meng Rongrong suddenly felt a pain in her sleep and frowned as she opened her eyes. Suddenly the two were face to face. Meng Rongrong had just woken up, and her mind was still in a mess. Yin Chuan quickly got up. Ah! Meng Rongrong suddenly reacted and let out a long scream. But soon, Meng Rongrong stopped screaming and curled up, sobbing softly. Yin Chuan looked around for clothes, but there was only a pile of tattered clothes on the floor. There wasn't a single complete piece of cloth. Looking at the sobbing Meng Rongrong, Yin Chuan sighed and said, Miss Meng, what's done is done. Come back with me. Meng Rongrong gently raised her head and looked at Yin Chuan, slightly confused. Go back. Yes, soon I will go back and establish a country. Come back with me and be my empress. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, I don't want to, you bastard, I hate you, I hate you. Meng Rongrong suddenly cried again. Yin Chuan frowned, not knowing what to do. After all, he was the one who had gone crazy. While Yin Chuan was thinking about how to comfort Meng Rongrong, suddenly, a round wheel appeared on the ground in front of Yin Chuan, emitting a large amount of white light. It was as if a small altar had appeared out of thin air. Wang! A white light flashed, and a kitten suddenly appeared on the small altar. Meow. Big pervert, you're again? Huh? You, what did you do just now? Meow. Meow. I didn't see anything. Meow. I didn't see anything. Meow covered her eyes with her small paws, but still secretly looked at the two of them curiously. Yin Chuan. Meng Rongrong. Meow, quickly take out 2 sets of clothes. Yin Chuan suddenly shouted. I didn't see, Meow didn't see. Meow covered her eyes. Stop pretending, quickly take out the clothes. It's not like I didn't see it last time. Yin Chuan was speechless. Last time, when they fell into the Sound River vortex in the Tiger tribe's territory, their clothes were indeed torn once. Oh, Meow thought about it and agreed. Meow quickly took out 2 sets of clothes. Yin Chuan handed one to Meng Rongrong. He wore one for himself. You carry it. Meng Rongrong curled up and said, Okay. Yin Chuan nodded. Meow. Didn't I see it last time? What's there to be embarrassed about? Meow didn't understand. However, the two of them wouldn't listen to Meow's nagging. They quickly put on their clothes. Chapter 531. Meng Rongrong put on Yin Chuan's clothes again. Meow, there's a pool of blood here. Is someone hurt? Meow jumped to a piece of cloth. Meng Rongrong saw it, and immediately snatched it, and put it away carefully. Meow. This blood is yours. Why are you snatching it? Meow was speechless. Meng Rongrong. Meow, how did you get here? Yin Chuan was puzzled. Isn't it your fault? I woke up and found you gone. I asked around but no one knew. Qing Long. And the rest were looking for you everywhere. You didn't even say anything when you went out. Luckily I'm powerful. I thought about it, and appeared in front of you. Meow said proudly. Thought about it and you appeared? Was it the clan contract you made with me back then? Yin Chuan frowned. When he first met Meow, Meow bit Yin Chuan and made a clan contract. What clan contract? Meow was puzzled. Forget it if you forgot. No. Tell me what the clan contract is. Meow insisted. Can you appear in someone else's place? Yin Chuan explained. No. That's right. You made a clan contract with me. Logically speaking, I can summon tigers, especially you. When I summon you, you will be able to sense it. As long as you agree, you can be summoned to me instantly. But I didn't expect you to be able to come here on your own. Yin Chuan said strangely. Meow. When did I make a clan contract with you? Why don't I remember? Meow said in disbelief. Yin Chuan looked at Meow and sighed. He didn't want to explain. The more he talked, the more his head hurt. Meng Rongrong stood up and picked up the zither that had fallen not far away. She bit her lips and looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. There was hatred in his eyes, as well as another indescribable emotion. Miss Meng Rongrong? Yin Chuan looked at Meng Rongrong. Don't call me. I don't want to see you. Meng Rongrong's voice was filled with shame and anger. Meng Rongrong stepped forward and walked into the forest. But before he could walk far, a strong light suddenly shone from afar. Boom! It was the nature energy. It instantly filled the miasma area. Without the black rose, the miasma was no match for the nature energy. In the blink of an eye, half of it was purified. Yin Chuan's expression changed. He reached out and grabbed the Jade Emperor sword from the ground. He hugged Meow and looked around solemnly. Rumble! A huge force enveloped Yin Chuan. Meow! What's going on? Meow exclaimed. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong were suddenly pulled up from the ground by a huge force. Apart from Meng Rongrong, there were also many Confucian cultivators around. In the distance, the entrance to the world of light opened again. Everyone was abruptly pulled out by a tremendous force, all sent out of the light world. Bam! Bam! 60 Confucian cultivators, along with Yin Chuan and Meng Rongrong, fell into the 100 Sages' righteousness altar. Where are my books? Where are my books? A few Confucian cultivators exclaimed. Puffed! Puffed! A few Confucian cultivators kept vomiting water. This was especially true for Confucian Chenping. His stomach had swelled up, and he was on the verge of death. Junior brother Chenping? What happened to him? Lu Zilu asked in a low voice. Chenping can't swim, Wang Long said with an ugly expression. Can't swim? How did you get water all over your bodies? Did you all fall into the river? Lu Zilu asked in a low voice. Yeah. Wang Long nodded, conflicted. Lu Zilu. At the 100 Sages' righteousness altar, a large number of Confucian cultivators were standing guard. Yui glared at them. World of Light, at the entrance of the Hall of Light. Chapter 532. Meng Lingtian looked at Meng Ziqiu coldly. So many people. Meng Ziqiu, what did you do? Meng Lingtian said coldly. Great-grandfather, I was careless. Meng Ziqiu said bitterly. I've already thrown them all out. I don't want there to be a next time. Meng Lingtian said. Yes, there won't be a next time. Meng Ziqiu said immediately. There won't be a next time? Look at the Julu Academy now. What have you done to it? Meng Lingtian said coldly. Meng Ziqiu didn't dare to say anything. Pick a few smart ones among the descendants of the Academy Masters. I'll reopen the entrance to the world of light in a month. Let them in. I'll teach them well. Meng Lingtian said coldly. Yes. Meng Ziqiu said bitterly. At the 100 Saints' altar of righteousness. Meow, why won't you let us go? Miao shouted at the Confucian scholar blocking the way. Lu Zilu and the others also wanted to leave, but Louis shook his head and refused. At this moment, Meng Ziqiu suddenly stepped out of the world of light. Whoosh! The entrance to the world of light suddenly closed. Meng Ziqiu looked at everyone and finally said, "Let them go." "Yes," the Confucian scholars answered. Yin Chuan glanced at Meng Ziqiu and stepped out with the others. As for Meng Rongrong, she walked at the front. After leaving the plaza, Meng Rongrong quickly flew away. Seeing Meng Rongrong leave, Yin Chuan sighed softly. "Miao, what did you and Meng Rongrong do in there?" Miao asked curiously. Yin Chuan shook his head and didn't say anything. "Did you do something indecent?" Miao's eyes suddenly lit up. "Yin Chuan, wasn't it? Did she do something indecent to you?" Miao's eyes lit up even more. Slap! Yin Chuan slapped Miao's head. "If you talk nonsense again, I'll deduct your spirit stones," Yin Chuan said. "Miao, did I speak? I didn't say anything." Miao feigned ignorance. Yin Chuan smiled. Half a month later. East Hall. Heavens, I'm such an intelligent person, yet I still have to study. Dongfang Jingpai's cries could be heard from Dongfang Hall. Yin Chuan walked out of the hall curiously. "Yin Chuan, I'm running away. You can stay in the East Palace Hall by yourself. Do you have any spirit stones? Give me some. It'll last me for a while. It's fine if you don't have spirit stones. Give me some of your words and I'll go sell them." Dongfang Jingpai ran over and said, "What's going on?" Yin Chuan asked doubtfully. "How would I know? The headmaster came to talk to me and told me to go to a senior's place to further my studies." "Do I still need to further my studies?" Dongfang Jingpai replied. "Study further?" Yin Chuan was surprised. "Yeah, right, there are a few more. The dean said that his daughter, Meng Rongrong, will be there too." Dongfang Jingpai said. "Quick, I have to leave. If I don't leave now, I won't have another chance in the future," Dongfang Jingpai said anxiously. At this moment, 6 figures in white suddenly flew over from afar. It was old Yen and the others. "Why are you guys here?" Dongfang Jingpai asked curiously. "The dean said that he was worried that you would run away, so he asked us to accompany you," old Yen said with a smile. Dongfang Jingpai. A month passed in the blink of an eye. The Eastern Orthodox faction was about to embark on a path of darkness. His face was full of frustration. Yin Chuan sent him out of the East Hall, holding a jade box in his hand. "Help me give this jade box to Meng Rongrong." Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, "Ah." Dongfang Jingpai looked at Yin Chuan strangely. "Just leave it to her. You don't have to say anything." Yin Chuan said, "Don't tell me that you and Meng Rongrong are really having an affair?" "The Tiger Tribe's encampment last time." Dongfang Jingpai was instantly interested. Scram! Yin Chuan kicked Dongfang Jingpai's butt. Dongfang Jingpai hugged the jade box and felt slightly better. He followed old Yen and the others and slowly flew away. Chapter 533. Time passed quickly. There were only 10 days left before the Heaven's Gift Conference. More and more experts gathered in Jilu City. The Jilu Academy had become the center of attention in the Centennial Heaven's Gift Conference. There were many experts, and even a large number of Emptiness Realm experts. The entire Jilu City was filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. The East Hall. The hall was wide open. Miao was resting lazily on a small tea chair. Yin Chuan was chatting with a short-haired girl, while drinking tea at a small table in the center of the hall. The short-haired girl was dressed in a tight suit. She had a fierce and heroic aura. It was the emperor, whom he had not seen for many years. "When I came here, I saw a sword aura lingering outside the East Hall. Did you set up a formation?" the emperor asked while sipping his tea. "The Heaven's Gift Conference is approaching. More and more Emptiness Realm experts are gathering here. I have to guard against accidents. You have good eyesight. You can see the formation outside." Yin Chuan smiled while sipping his tea. "I've been here for 3 days. Rumor has it that you want to fight for the God's investiture strategy?" the emperor asked. "That's right. Why do you want it?" Yin Chuan asked curiously. "I want the Tian Su," the emperor said. "Oh." Yin Chuan was surprised. "My saber can sense your sword. Does that mean that your sword has a sword spirit?" The emperor looked at the Jade Emperor sword on Yin Chuan's back. That's right. Since it has a sword spirit, it is not in the rank 9 realm. It seems that you have had a fortuitous encounter in the past few years. The emperor nodded and sighed. How's the investigation of your father's incident? Yin Chuan asked. There are some clues. The emperor shook his head and did not want to say more. I've sorted out some information from 6,000 years ago. I'll give it to you later. As for whether it's useful, you can see for yourself. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and said, Thank you. The emperor nodded. His eyes softened. He came here to ask Yin Chuan to help him collect some information. After all, Yin Chuan had stayed in Jilu City for 2 years. Jilu City definitely had the most historical information. Who would have thought that Yin Chuan was already prepared? The emperor didn't like to talk too much. He just drank his tea quietly. You fought for Tian Su because you wanted to establish a sect? Yin Chuan asked. Something like that. However, I don't like to build. I'll establish a sect and take in 12 disciples. That's all I need to do to fulfill my father's final wish. The emperor said indifferently. 12 apostles? Who knows how many saber cultivators wish to be able to learn under Saber Demon? Yin Chuan said with a smile. The emperor's expression remained indifferent as he continued to drink his tea. Yin Chuan knew that this was not because the empress looked down on him, but because of her personality. Moreover, up until now, Yin Chuan had never seen the empress smile. While the two of them were drinking tea, the clouds and mist outside suddenly swayed. The saintess is here. Qing Long's excited voice came from outside the hall. Qing Long, and Bai Long immediately ran to the square. Yin Chuan's expression changed. He stood up and walked out of the hall. The emperor looked at Yin Chuan. There was no dissatisfaction in his eyes. This was his personality. There was no need to be too polite. Yin Chuan walked out of the hall. 10 figures landed on the square. Mo Yushi, Rosefinch, Xuanwu, Mr. Monroe, Guyu Holy Sun, and 5 unfamiliar faces. Guyu Holy Sun? Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Why was he here? Greetings, Saintess. Qing Long and Bai Long said respectfully. Mo Yushi nodded and turned to look at Yin Chuan. Seeing Yin Chuan, Mo Yushi smiled gently. This smile seemed to be filled with endless longing. Chapter 534. Although he didn't know why Guyu Holy Sun was here, Yin Chuan looked at Mo Yushi and gave her a trusting smile. This smile touched Mo Yushi's eyes, and she slowly walked over. Meow, Sister Mo is here? Meow had woken up and jumped over. Meow. Mo Yushi's eyes were filled with joy. She flipped her hand, and a small 7-colored stone fragment appeared in her palm. The stone fragment was very small, but it emitted a powerful aura. Meow. Meow's eyes instantly became heart-shaped. This is an immortal stone fragment I obtained by chance. Do you like it? Mo Yushi smiled. Meow, I like it. That's great, that's great. Sister Mo is the prettiest. Meow's mouth was instantly filled with joy. Immortal stone fragment? Saintess Yushi, this is an immortal item bestowed by the Holy Master. How can you give it to a little cat? Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Cat, your sister. You're the cat. Meow. Meow immediately shouted angrily. Evil creature, what did you say? A bearded expert behind Guyu Holy Sun suddenly glared, and a powerful aura surged out. Mo Yushi's face darkened. She waved her hand, and a powerful aura pushed back the expert's aura. Chang-san, you have no right to speak here. Mo Yushi glared. The bearded man called Chang-san glared at Mo Yushi, and took a deep breath. Yes. Mo Yushi turned to Guyu Holy Sun and said, Guyu Holy Sun, the immortal stone fragment is mine. You have no right to decide what to do with it. Also, Meow is not a cat. She's a tiger. Meow. Meow said arrogantly. Tiger? Heh. Guyu Holy Sun did not get angry. Instead, he smiled mysteriously. Prince Yin, long time no see. Mr. Monroe smiled. Mr. Monroe, I've been waiting for a long time. Yin Chuan also smiled. Yin Chuan, something happened when we went back to invite Mr. Monroe. Mo Yushi took a deep breath and said. Oh, actually, when Yin Chuan saw Guyu Holy Sun, he knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. I asked Mr. Monroe for help, but somehow Mohina Dojin found out about it. MOU, she said. Yin Chuan frowned. Mohina Dojin? Why was it him again? That's right. When my father found out about this, he decided to help you. He sent the 4 strongest people in the Dazhao Holy Land. When Ruo is in charge of painting, this is the Qin King, this is the Chess King, and this is the Book King. They were all sent by my father to help you. You should thank my father. Guyu Holy Sun said calmly. Greetings, Prince Yin. 3 men in scholarly robes walked out from behind Guyu Holy Sun. They looked at Yin Chuan arrogantly. Qin King, Chess King, Book King? Qin King, Chess King, Book King? Yin Chuan looked at the 3 of them with disdain. As the saying goes, a full bottle does not move when half the bottle is shaken. The 3 of them were below him, yet they claimed to be the kings of their respective fields? They were inexplicably looked down upon by Yin Chuan. Ha 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 ha, there's no need. Mr. Monroe is enough. I've already prepared for the Qin King, Chess King and Book King. Yin Chuan shook his head and smiled. Oh, you've prepared? Who are they? Are they better than the Qin King and the rest? Guyu Holy Sun raised his eyebrows. Seeing Guyu Holy Sun's expression, Yin Chuan immediately felt that something was amiss. Mohina Dojin sent people to help him? He wasn't familiar with Mohina Dojin at all. He must have some other motive. Hee, you'll know when you see them. Yin Chuan smiled calmly. Chapter 535. Mr. Wang, someone is doubting your Guqin skills. Yin Chuan laughed. As he spoke, the door of the side hall opened. Spider King stepped out and walked towards Yin Chuan. It's you. Guyu Holy Sun's eyes turned cold. Guyu Holy Sun, how have you been? Which one of you is the Qin Emperor? If your Guqin skills are better than mine, I would like to learn from you. Spider King laughed. On the other side, the Qin Emperor revealed an awkward expression. Ha ha ha, it's you? Did you improve again after our Guqin duel last time? Spider King is looking forward to it. Spider King laughed. The Qin Emperor took a deep breath and sighed. Holy Sun, I'm no match for Spider King. Guyu Holy Sun's eyes flashed. However, his expression remained calm as he said, Who would have thought? Yin Chuan, you're good to have invited Spider King. Yin Chuan appreciates Mohina Dojin's kindness. May I know why Guyu Holy Sun has come to Jilu City? Yin Chuan laughed. At this moment, Yin Chuan was no longer as cautious as before. Instead, he faced Guyu Holy Sun calmly, and even spoke in a condescending tone. Guyu Holy Sun was unhappy. How could this ant-like person not be afraid of him? Afraid? How could Yin Chuan be afraid of someone who had tried to kill him several times? MOU, she said. Besides Mr. Monroe, the Qin Emperor, the Chess Emperor, and the Book Emperor, Chong San and Chong Si are also here to help Guyu Holy Sun fight for the Tiansu. Fight for the Tiansu? Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. Why is Mohina Dojin fighting for the Tiansu? Chong San and Chong Si? And the Qin Emperor, the Chess Emperor, and the Book Emperor? Are you trying to steal my investiture of the god's strategy? Although he didn't know why Mohina Dojin was doing this, Yin Chuan instantly became vigilant. This time, I'm in charge of fighting for Tiansu, but I can't treat the investiture of the gods lightly. There are still 10 days. Listen to my arrangements. Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. As soon as Guyu Holy Sun spoke, Qinglong, Bai Long, Spider King, and Yifeng's faces darkened. MOU, she raised her eyebrows. She did not expect Guyu Holy Sun to be so overbearing. He wanted to seize power as soon as he arrived. The fight for the investiture of the gods was Yin Chuan's business. Guyu Holy Sun wanted to interfere. Meow. Meow glared at him. Obviously, it was not happy with Guyu Holy Sun. You. Yin Chuan sneered. That's right. I've participated in the Heaven's Gift Conference, so I know most of the procedures. I have my ways to deal with the experts from all sides. I'll make the arrangements. Just listen to me. Guyu Holy Sun said in a low voice. Chong San, Chong Si, Qin King, Chess King, and Book King all nodded, as if it was a matter of course. Who do you think you are? Yin Chuan said coldly. Who do you think you are? Chong San, and the others were still in a daze after Yin Chuan's words. Yin Chuan said to Holy Sun. Who do you think you are? The square in the East Hall suddenly fell silent. She was originally angry with Guyu Holy Sun, but after hearing Yin Chuan's words she felt relieved. Determination flashed in her eyes, and she looked coldly at Guyu Holy Sun with Yin Chuan. The atmosphere in the square suddenly became tense. What did you just say? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes turned cold. Yin Chuan dared to challenge his authority? He was only in the Qi state. Did he have a death wish? Meow, Yin Chuan said. Who do you think you are? Meow jumped onto Yin Chuan's shoulder and threatened Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun glared at him. No matter how well-mannered he was, he could not hold it in anymore. You want me to listen to you? Do you think you're worthy? Yin Chuan said coldly again. Chapter 536. You want me to listen to you? Are you worthy? Yin Chuan said coldly. Are you worthy? Surprise flashed across Mr. Wenrua's eyes. Chong San, Chong Si, Qing King, Chess King and Book King were in disbelief. Was this kid tired of living? How dare he talk to Guyu Holy Sun like that? The four of them looked at Yin Chuan, as if they were looking at a dead man. Guyu Holy Sun's eyes flashed coldly. A powerful aura was released towards Yin Chuan. Was he trying to challenge his authority again and again? A powerful aura was released. The floor beneath Guyu Holy Sun's feet cracked under the pressure and moved towards Yin Chuan. The powerful aura of a middle void stage expert was released towards Yin Chuan. When Yushi saw this, her face immediately sank. Guyu, don't you dare! Yushi glared at him. A powerful aura was released. Yushi's aura was tangible. It was like a huge black phoenix shadow was crashing towards Guyu Holy Sun. Boom! The two auras collided. Guyu Holy Sun's face changed. He looked at Yushi coldly. Yushi, are you trying to go against Mohina Dojin's orders? Guyu Holy Sun asked in a serious tone. Mohina Dojin did not say anything to me. Yushi said coldly. Yin Chuan held Yushi's hand gently. Yushi turned her head in confusion. Yin Chuan smiled and pulled Yushi behind him. I have my reasons for saying that he's unworthy. Just watch. Yin Chuan's smile was like the light of dawn on the snowy ground, incomparably radiant. Seeing this, Yushi unconsciously nodded her head, but a trace of curiosity flashed in her eyes. Where did Yin Chuan get his confidence from? In Yushi's eyes, Yin Chuan's cultivation had increased by leaps and bounds. Although he had reached the 5th stage of the Qi Jing realm, he was still in the Qi Jing realm. Although he was a little worried, he still nodded and gave way to Yin Chuan. After handing Miao to Yushi, Yin Chuan turned to look at Guyu Holy Sun. Taking a step forward, Yin Chuan blocked Yifeng, Wang Spider, Yushi and the others behind him. One person coldly looked at Guyu, one person facing Guyu. Behind him, Yifeng and the others looked at Yin Chuan worriedly and respectfully. They also looked at Guyu, as if they were facing a common enemy. Only Wang Spider squinted his eyes, and a trace of complexity flashed across his eyes. Because Wang Spider saw the demeanor of a king from Yin Chuan. The demeanor of a man who could hold back 10,000 men. This was the unique charisma of a leader. It wasn't aura or power, it was just a feeling. Wang Spider saw it from Yao Tianshang. Now he saw it again from Yin Chuan. This was a unique charisma that came from a person's immense confidence. Wang Spider was worried. He wanted to recommend Yin Chuan to Yao Tianshang. But could Yin Chuan really be recommended? Yin Chuan stepped forward and looked at Guyu coldly. Guyu was shocked when he saw Yin Chuan pull Yushi away. Qi state. How dare someone in the Qi state talk back to him? You are not welcome here, except for Mr. Monroe. Take your people and get out of the East Palace. Yin Chuan said in a low voice. Kid, do you want to die? Chong San shouted angrily again. Yin Chuan's eyes turned cold and a murderous aura shot out from his eyes. Chong San, who was walking towards Yin Chuan, suddenly shivered as if he was frozen by Yin Chuan's glare. Yin Chuan, this is not up to you. You have to listen to my father, whether you want to or not. Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. Chapter 537. With that, Guyu Holy Sun's aura pressed down on Yin Chuan once again. On the ground, the cracks on the floor became even more pronounced. Crack, 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 crack. Guyu Holy Sun wanted to teach Yin Chuan an unforgettable lesson. Screech. The Jade Emperor sword on Yin Chuan's back suddenly chimed. Swish. The Jade Emperor sword suddenly flew out by itself. The sword faced Guyu Holy Sun. Suddenly, a huge black sword aura appeared and slashed towards Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun's expression changed as he slapped his palm towards the sword aura. Boom! The sword and palm collided. The Jade Emperor sword suddenly soared into the sky. It stood firmly in the air as if it was floating. Everyone looked at the Jade Emperor sword in the air in shock, including Guyu. Buzz! The Jade Emperor sword suddenly vibrated. Tens of thousands of sword auras emerged from the white clouds around the Eastern Palace's floating island. The sword auras were like torrential rain as they rolled over. The sky was filled with sword shadows. Rumble! In an instant, the Eastern Palace was enveloped by the sword auras. From afar, it looked like a huge storm had enveloped the Eastern Palace. Countless cultivators looked up at the sky and looked in the direction of the Eastern Palace in shock. Rumble! Inside the Eastern Palace's square, there were also countless sword auras. Around Yin Chuan, Mo Yushi and Guyu, there were surging sword auras. The endless sword auras pointed towards Yin Chuan, as if they were worshipping Yin Chuan. The endless sword auras bowed towards Yin Chuan 3 times before they suddenly slashed towards Guyu. What is that? Guyu said with a gloomy face. Boom! The storm-like sword chi came from all directions and headed straight for Guyu Holy Sun. You're courting death, Guyu shouted as he raised a huge wall of chi. Boom! 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 Tens of thousands of white sword chi instantly pierced the Holy Sun's chi wall, wave after wave. 10 pitch-black swords suddenly emerged from the ground. Like the sword of the Jade Emperor, they instantly pierced through the air wall and headed straight for Guyu Holy Sun. Boom! Guyu Holy Sun slammed his palm down and collided with the 10 black swords. The huge force instantly sent Guyu Holy Sun flying into the sky. Shing! 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 The white sword chi immediately turned into black sword chi. In an instant, billions of Jade Emperors' swords appeared around the Eastern Hall. They were aimed at Guyu Holy Sun with a bloodthirsty killing intent. SSSS! 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 His terrifying speed and enormous strength cut Guyu Holy Sun's wall of air again, and again like 1,000 knives cutting it into pieces. No! Bastard! How is that possible? Guyu Holy Sun screamed. The chi wall of the Middle Emptiness realm was actually cut apart by the sword chi of 1,000 cuts. Furthermore, the Jade Emperor's sword shadow was like a swarm of locusts. It was getting closer and closer to him. Guyu Holy Sun flipped his hand and took out a long sword. Suddenly, he activated thousands of sword chis and shot them towards the Jade Emperor's sword chis. The Jade Emperor's sword chi was no weaker than Guyu Holy Sun's sword chi. Rumble! Wave after wave. The Jade Emperor's sword chi violently washed over Guyu Holy Sun. In the blink of an eye, it was right in front of him. Roar! When had Guyu Holy Sun ever experienced such a dangerous situation? As he roared, the aura around him erupted like a huge explosion. Boom! A huge amount of Jade Emperor's sword chi flew out. However, even more sword chi instantly closed in on Guyu Holy Sun like a swarm of locusts. SSSS! 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 Guyu Holy Sun's hair was messed up, and his clothes were riddled with holes. Chapter 538. Boom! Thousands of sword chi retreated 10 feet away from Guyu Holy Sun and aimed at Guyu Holy Sun. Standing in the air, Guyu Holy Sun looked pathetic. The sword chi lined up like an army and faced Guyu Holy Sun coldly. How is this possible? Chang San and Chang Si exclaimed. Yin Chuan stood with his hands behind his back, and Guyu Holy Sun looked pathetic. The ancient moon saint child's hair was messy as he looked at Yin Chuan in disbelief. At the same time, he looked at the pitch-black Jade Emperor sword chi around him. Sword array? You can set up a sword array? How is this possible? Your sword has a sword spirit? Guyu Holy Sun exclaimed as he looked at Yin Chuan. You know about sword arrays too? Yin Chuan asked calmly. Impossible. Why would a sword spirit listen to you? Sword array? Guyu Holy Sun still did not believe Lin Fan. Jade Emperor chased them out. Yin Chuan ordered. Buzz! In the huge sword storm, a sword chime suddenly sounded, as if it was commanding the thousands of sword chi. Rumble! Countless sword chi surged towards Guyu Holy Sun like a raging river. Rumble! Guyu Holy Sun tried to defend himself, but the sword array was too powerful. Guyu Holy Sun was sent flying and forced out of the East Hall. Do you still want me to invite you out? Yin Chuan looked at Changsan and the others coldly. Changsan and Changsan's hearts raced. Chi state. Is this guy in the Chi state? Let's go! Changsan shouted. Boom! Under the pressure of the sword chi, the 5 of them were forced out of the sword array. Rumble! Sword chi surrounded the East Hall. Guyu Holy Sun and the other 3 were forced out of the sword array. Even after they came out, they still felt like they were dreaming. Buzz! Tens of thousands of sword chi suddenly exploded, instantly scattering in all directions and disappearing. In midair, the real Jade King sword danced for a while. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of Yin Chuan. It flew into the sheath on Yin Chuan's back, as though it had never come out. A sword spirit? Was it an immortal sword? Immortal sword array? No wonder. Changsen said with an ugly expression. How could Yin Chuan be so lucky to obtain an immortal sword? In this way, once the immortal sword appears and the sword formation is set up, even intermediate illusionary stage cultivators will not be able to harm him. Chang Si said with a complicated expression. Not necessarily. As long as you have a good magic treasure, you can still break the sword formation. What a pity. Chang San said with a conflicted expression. Guyu Holy Sun stood in the air and stared coldly at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan, not killing you back then was the biggest mistake of my life, Guyu Holy Sun said with a chilling tone. Yin Chuan looked at Guyu Holy Sun and said with disdain. The son of a Taoist lord doesn't have a magic treasure? Ha! Yin Chuan's ha was extremely harsh to Guyu's ears. Magic treasure? None of his magic treasures could compare to that black sword? The son of a Taoist lord? Thinking about the magic treasures of the other sons of Taoist lords, Guyu Holy Sun felt an inexplicable hatred for his father. If his father had given him a magic treasure, he would not have been humiliated today. The East Palace does not welcome you. Come again when you can break my Jade King Sword formation. Yin Chuan said lightly. Jade King Sword formation? Just you wait. Guyu Holy Sun said with resentment. Let's go. Guyu Holy Sun instantly flew into the distance. The 5 experts followed closely behind, and in the blink of an eye, they left with the ancient Moon Holy Child. Jade King Sword? When did it become so powerful? Moyushi looked at the black sword on Yin Chuan's back in surprise. Yin Chuan turned his head and smiled. It's not that simple. I have already set up a formation around here, to prevent the Emptiness Realm cultivators from attacking. I thought I wouldn't need it, but I didn't expect it to come in handy today. I see, Mr. Monroe exclaimed. Chapter 539. Just arrived. Yin Chuan looked at Moyushi. You've already mentioned this place in your letter, so we naturally rushed over. We've just arrived. Moyushi nodded. Prince Yen, the sword formation just now was really powerful, Rosefinch said excitedly. At this time, the Emperor walked out of the East Hall. The Emperor's sudden appearance surprised everyone. They all looked at the Emperor. It's her. Rosefinch and Xuanwu's expressions changed. They still remembered how fierce the Empress was last time. Jade Emperor sword formation? It's a pity that your cultivation is too low. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the assistance of the formation at all. The Emperor said lightly. Yin Chuan smiled and did not refute. Rosefinch, Xuanwu, and the others revealed strange expressions. Where do I live? The Emperor asked. Yifeng, bring His Majesty to the side chamber. Yin Chuan looked at Yifeng. Yes. Yifeng nodded. Moyushi looked at Emperor in surprise. In the end, she didn't ask anything. Mr. Monroe looked at Emperor curiously. Mr. Monroe, please come in. Yin Chuan said with a smile. All right. When Rua nodded, Yin Chuan and Moyushi looked at each other and smiled. They did not exchange any pleasantries, and walked towards the East Hall together. Spider King looked at Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. He shook his head and returned to his side chamber. Qinglong, Bai Long, Rosefinch, and Xuanwu were waiting outside the hall. Meow, Sister Imo, do you have any more of these immortal stone shards? Meow whispered to Imo Yushi. Meow, you're too greedy. Yin Chuan's face stiffened. Meow, I was just asking. I didn't say I wanted it. Meow felt wronged. I still have one, but it's not with me. If you like it, I'll give it to you in the future. Imo Yushi said. Meow, Sister Imo is the best. Meow's eyes lit up. All these years in Jilu City, I've learned a lot about Mr. Monroe. Yin Chuan is very grateful that Mr. Monroe is willing to help me. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Prince Yin, you flatter me. I'm just an abandoned student who was expelled from the academy. When Rua said bitterly, abandoned disciple? Haha, on the contrary, I think Mr. Monroe is a genuine person. He didn't hesitate to leave Jilu Academy and go to the Dezhou Holy Land. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and sighed. When Rua smiled bitterly and said, let's not talk about this. Prince Yin, 2 years ago in Jilu City, he fought a group of Confucians with his literary skills. It shocked the world. Even from 1,000,000 miles away, I could feel his literary skills. Oh, the news spread that fast. Yin Chuan was surprised. The Heavenly Bestowment Conference is about to begin. Jilu City has already become the focal point of the East. News of any major event will spread to the world. With hundreds of beautiful essays, young Master Yan's name has already spread across the world. Mr. Wenrua said with certainty. Spread across the world? Haha, Mr. Monroe, you flatter me. Yin Chuan shook his head and smiled. But, Mr. Monroe frowned. What? Prince Yin, you better not look down on Sima Yuntian because of that literary battle. His disciples can't represent Sima Yuntian, Mr. Monroe said seriously. Oh. Prince Yin, what do you think of my painting? Wenrua asked. Although I haven't seen your painting, a lot of information from Jilu Academy shows that Mr. Monroe's painting is unparalleled. Once he paints, he moves the world. He paints the world. Yin Chuan said seriously. Indeed. When my father was still alive, he also admired Mr. Monroe. He said that Mr. Monroe was born for painting. Imo Yushi nodded. Wenrua smiled bitterly and said, perhaps the saint and Prince Yin don't know. My first teacher was Sima Yuntian. Chapter 540. Oh. Yin Chuan narrowed his eyes. This was the first time Yin Chuan had heard of this. Sima Yuntian. I haven't seen him for hundreds of years. He's really a genius. He's good at music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. If Prince Yin hadn't competed with him, I'm sure he would have gotten the investiture of the gods. When Rua said confidently, how can you be so sure? Then tell me, what kind of person is this great sage Sima Yuntian? Yin Chuan asked solemnly. Yin Chuan had been prepared for this, and he had felt that victory was within his grasp. But now he didn't expect Mr. Monroe to praise Sima Yuntian so much. Sima Yuntian Ao. Mr. Monroe said. Ao. I don't know why, but there's a rule in the Jilu Academy. The Sima family can't be the head of the academy. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't become the head of the academy. Sima Yuntian didn't feel good about it. So he gave up the position and traveled the world. I still remember what he said before he left. Mr. Monroe recalled. What did he say? He said that when he returned, he would defeat all the heroes of the Jilu Academy. Mr. Monroe said solemnly. Oh, that's interesting. Yin Chuan's eyes flashed with anticipation. Anyway, Prince Yin, you have to be careful. Since I've promised the saint, I'll do my best. Mr. Monroe said with a bitter smile. From Mr. Monroe's tone, Yin Chuan could tell that something was wrong. It was as if Mr. Monroe didn't believe that he could win. He didn't believe that he could win? Sima Yuntian? Was he really that powerful? Thank you. Yin Chuan nodded. Jilu City, on a huge floating island. On the floating island, there was a large hall. The Hall of Sima. Lu Zilu, Chen Ping, Wang Long, and a group of scholars stood on both sides. There was a total of 72 white-robed Confucians. Their expressions were extremely respectful, as they faced a man sitting on a chair in the north of the Sima Hall. A middle-aged man in a green robe with a tall hat on his head appeared to be around 40 years old. He had a handsome face and a small mustache on his chin. His eyebrows were sharp like swords and his eyes were sharp. His hands were placed on the armrests, and the middle finger of his right hand was gently tapping the armrest. The middle-aged man looked at the center of the hall. There were a total of 60 chess sets and 101 calligraphy scrolls. Great scholar Lu Zilu stepped out of the ranks and said respectfully, "Teacher, these are all copied by us. At the pinnacle of the literary gathering, we have embarrassed teacher." The azure-robed man was Grand Paragon Sima Yuntian. With a wave of his hand, a feather fan appeared in his palm. Mr. Monroe also had one, but Mr. Monroe's feather fan was white, while Sima Yuntian's was green, as if it was made of peacock feathers. "Good writing. Good poem. Good poem." Sima Yuntian suddenly laughed. Sima Yuntian didn't blame his disciple. Instead, he felt like he had seen a hunter. At this moment, another great scholar stepped out and said, "Teacher, I have also seen these poems. 101 pieces, 101 styles. It's really incredible." Sima Yuntian nodded and didn't object. "Teacher, will this person be an obstacle to teacher?" Lu Zilu asked worriedly. Sima Yuntian smiled and said, "Just these poems are not enough. There's no need to worry." Yes, all the great scholars were overjoyed. "Teacher, I have also memorized these 60 chess sets. When the time comes, I will not disappoint teacher." Another disciple said respectfully. Chapter 541. Sima Yuntian looked at the 60 chessboards. His eyes flashed with admiration. "Teacher, is the place we entered really called the World of Light? You knew about it before?" Lu Zilu asked curiously. "Yes, I knew about it long ago, but I never went in. It's a pity." Sima Yuntian said lightly. "Oh." Lu Zilu did not say anything else. "Go and prepare." Sima Yuntian said lightly. "Yes." The disciples nodded. Then they all left the hall. Sima Yuntian was the only one left in the hall. He sat in the hall and looked at Jilu Mountain outside the hall. "I, Sima Yuntian, am back. I mean what I say. The God investiture strategy? I don't just want the God investiture strategy. I want justice for my Sima family." Sima Yuntian's eyes shone. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye. The Heavenly Bestowment Conference was about to begin. East Hall. A large number of Confucian cultivators had already gathered outside the hall. Yan Chuan did not know most of these Confucian cultivators. They came of their own accord. After the peak literary meeting, Yan Chuan's name had spread throughout Jilu City. He was worshipped by thousands of Confucian cultivators. These Confucian cultivators were convinced by Yan Chuan's literary talent. They came of their own accord with blind worship. It was not to befriend Yan Chuan, but to witness a new miracle today. Yan Chuan, Mo Yuxi, Emperor, Yifeng, Wang Zhu Qinglong, and the others came out of the East Hall and were greeted by a large number of Confucian cultivators. "Greetings, Mr. Yan, Mr. Yi," the Confucian cultivators said. Yan Chuan looked at the Confucian cultivators and nodded. He stepped forward and led everyone to the venue of the Heavenly Bestowment Conference. Thousands of Confucian cultivators followed behind and rushed to the Heavenly Bestowment Square. The so-called Heavenly Bestowment Square was actually the square outside the 100 Saints' Altar of Righteousness. The registration in the past was at the God Investiture Hall there. Yan Chuan and his group were followed by thousands of Confucian cultivators. On the other side, Sima Yuntian straightened his long robe and flew towards the Heaven's Gift Square with his 72 disciples. Just like Yan Chuan, behind Sima Yuntian were tens of thousands of Confucian cultivators. Today there were countless practitioners, but most of them were in small groups. In the entire Jilu city, only Yan Chuan and Sima Yuntian could gather such a large group of scholars. If one were to look down at Jilu city from above, they would realize that Yan Chuan and Sima Yuntian were like the moon surrounded by stars. They were the two brightest pearls in the city. It was as if the Heaven's Gift Conference was held solely for these two bright pearls. On the way to the Heaven's Gift Square, more and more people gathered. The group grew larger and larger. On the Heaven's Gift Square, Meng Ziqiu and the others had not yet arrived. but there were already countless experts from various sects gathered there. Especially at the entrance of the main hall. The ancient Yu Holy Child and his 5 subordinates were looking coldly at the crowd in the distance. Seeing that one of the groups was led by Yin Chuan, Gu Yu Holy Sun's face darkened. There were already more than 8,000 people gathered in the square. They were all sects competing for the Tian Su. A gathering of more than 8,000 people was rare in the past Heaven's Gift Conferences. The Heaven's Gift Conference was a competition for the Tian Su and the God's Bestowment strategy. But in the past, only the Tian Su was the main character. A gathering of more than 8,000 people was very spectacular. Previously, they did not think much of the competition for the God's Bestowment strategy. After all, there were only 2 people. How big of a scene could it be? However, the vast group in front of them petrified the cultivators of the countless sections. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? There are more than 30,000 people on Yin Chuan's side. Sima Yuntian's side also has more than 30,000 people? So many people? What are they doing? Competing for the God's Bestowment strategy. This momentum is too exaggerated. The scene of 60 to 70,000 people suddenly paled in comparison to the grand scene of the Tian Su. The difference was almost 10 times. Chapter 542. The World of Radiance. In a small forest. The beautiful sound of a zither echoed through the forest. A large number of birds had appeared in the forest. The birds circled the forest and danced in the air. Ding! The sound of the zither suddenly stopped. Chirp, 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 chirp. The birds scattered in all directions. There was an exquisite house in the forest. Outside the house, Meng Rongrong, dressed in white, hugged her zither and sighed. She turned her head and looked at a jade box on a stone table. Looking at the jade box, Meng Rongrong could not help but tear up. She grabbed the jade box and wanted to open it, but she could not do so. Should she open it? Perhaps if she opened it, it would mean that she had given in and forgiven that bastard. No, I will never forgive you, bastard, bastard. Wiping her tears, Meng Rongrong let go of the jade box, but she did not open it. Instead, she kept the jade box. After keeping the jade box, Meng Rongrong looked up at the sky with a disappointed expression. Sigh. After packing up her zither, Meng Rongrong carried it back to her house. At the peak of a mountain not far away, 2 people stood at the peak of the mountain, Dongfang Zhengpai and Meng Lingtian. The 2 of them watched as Meng Rongrong entered the house. Dongfang Zhengpai, what was in the jade box? Meng Lingtian asked. How would I know? Old Meng, no, teacher. How many times have you asked me? How would I know? Dongfang Zhengpai said gloomily. You were the one who gave me the jade box. Who else should I ask? Meng Lingtian said. I really don't know. Why don't you expel me from the sect and let me out? The Heavenly Bestowment Conference has already begun, and you won't let me watch. Dongfang Zhengpai complained. Meng Lingtian looked at Dongfang Zhengpai. Dongfang booby, how did you have a descendant like you? Meng Lingtian asked with a strange expression. That's just how I am. Isn't it good to live a carefree life? Isn't it tiring to think so much every day? Teacher, I think you should just leave me defend for myself. In any case, I'm useless. Dongfang Zhengpai said expectantly. Even if you're trash, I'll still educate you into a rock. Otherwise, how would I explain it to the founding ancestor when I arrive at the immortal dimension? You give up on this thought. Among this group of people, if you don't reach number 1, you can forget about going out forever. Meng Lingtian said in a solemn voice. Heavens, how can you do this? That Meng Rongrong is your grandchild. You should take care of her. Why are you staring at me? Dongfang Zhengpai lamented. Meng Rongrong doesn't need me to worry. She only needs to look at that jade box once. And her zither Dao will improve once. Don't you feel it? The sound of the zither just now was not deliberate at all. But it was full of vitality, like a flock of birds gathering. Meng Lingtian stroked his beard and smiled with satisfaction. Every time I look at the jade box, I can level up once. Damn, why didn't Yin Chuan give me a jade box? Dongfang Zhengpai was speechless. Scoundrel, cultivating the way of the sage. You actually spout such filthy words. Go back and copy the words of the sage 100 times. Meng Lingtian said coldly. Heavens! It's too dark. Dongfang Zhengpai cried. You actually dare to say that my teaching is dark? Copy it 200 times. Meng Lingtian shouted. No! Dongfang Zhengpai's miserable voice came from the radiant world. Heaven's Gift Square. Yanchuan arrived at the Heaven's Gift Square with more than 30,000 Confucian cultivators. Similarly, on the other side, Sima Yuntian also arrived at the square with more than 30,000 Confucian cultivators. Chapter 543. From afar, Yanchuan saw Sima Yuntian, and Sima Yuntian also saw Yanchuan. The rules of the Heaven's Gift Square forbade flying, so everyone naturally landed on the square. Far away, Yanchuan and Sima Yuntian suddenly stopped in the middle of the plaza. The two of them faced each other and looked at each other from a distance. The 70,000 Confucian cultivators all held their breaths, looking at the two hot favorites for the God's Bestowment Scroll. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. The competition for the God's Bestowment Scroll had yet to begin. So would the two start fighting? This was also the first time Yanchuan sized up Sima Yuntian. In an instant, Yanchuan's gaze shifted to Sima Yuntian's eyes. Those were a pair of extremely bright eyes, filled with a sense of wisdom, and at the same time, a sense of arrogance that ignored everything. Yanchuan's eyes flashed, as if he thought of something, and smiled meaningfully. As for Sima Yuntian, it was unknown what he thought of, but he also smiled meaningfully. The two looked at each other and smiled, then ignored each other, and walked deeper into the square. The 70,000 Confucian cultivators were at a loss. The first confrontation between the two was over? Was this a confrontation? A mutual smile? Experts are indeed different. Yeah, maybe they already fought just now, but you and I couldn't see it. They're both people with great wisdom. How could you see it? Around Guyu Holy Sun, there was a burst of discussion. Yanchuan and Sima Yuntian looked at each other and smiled brightly. In Guyu Holy Sun's ears, he felt uncomfortable. The ants that should be crawling under his feet were now being praised by everyone? He was the Holy Son of the Holy Land, someone whose status was equal to the Jilu Academy's president. But he was ignored like this? Taking a deep breath, Guyu Holy Sun suppressed the irritation in his heart. This time his father had given him a mission. He could not afford to make any more mistakes. At this moment, a large number of Jilu Academy disciples rushed out from the mouth of the mountain, on the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar. The fog around the mouth of the mountain slowly dissipated. One could vaguely see Meng Ziqiu, Yue, and 5 white-robed elders bowing respectfully to Goddess Jichen in the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar. After 3 bows, the 7 of them turned around and looked at the Heaven's Gift Square. Mou, she explained. Meng Ziqiu, Yue, and those 5 old men are all virtuous paragons of the Jilu Academy. They usually don't care about the administration of the academy, and are probably traveling around. They only came back for the conference. Virtuous paragons? Yanchuan looked at the 7, and gently nodded his head. Meng Ziqiu was at the front with the 6 paragons behind him. They walked to the edge of the mountain, and looked at the tens of thousands of people in the square. Meng Ziqiu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "The Heavenly Bestowment Conference has officially begun. Please send a token to the heavens. Please, Tianxi." Yes, the group of Confucians shouted. Then, the Confucians in the Sky Hall and the God Bestowment Hall respectfully took out tokens. In the God Bestowment Hall, there were 2 tokens with Yanchuan and Sima Yuntian written on them. In the Sky Hall, there were many tokens. A total of 800 tokens with 800 names were taken out, representing 800 sections. The tokens were sent to the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar and to the feet of Goddess Jichen. At this moment, 2 white altars appeared under Goddess Jichen's feet. They looked like 2 huge pieces of white jade floating in the air. One of them had the word God Bestowment written on it, while the other had the word Heaven written on it. Yanchuan and Sima Yuntian's tokens went up to the God Bestowment altar. The other 800 went up to the rooftop. Meng Ziqiu flicked his robe and looked at Goddess Jichen's statue. The entire Heaven's Gift Square was silent. Everyone was looking at Meng Ziqiu. Today, the successor of the Jilu Academy, Meng Ziqiu, kowtows to goddess Jichin and the heavens. 100 years have passed in a hurry. The world is blessed and prosperous. With my life token as a witness, I ask the heavens for a reward. I hope the heavens will reward me and make the world prosper. Meng Ziqiu shouted. After that, golden light suddenly shot out from Meng Ziqiu's body and into the sea of providence. Roar! 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 Above the sea of providence, the 5 golden dragons of providence suddenly roared and shot into the sky. Then 2 of the 5 golden dragons of luck suddenly swooped down. Their roars were mixed with a strong sense of excitement. Roar! Roar! The 2 dragons rushed down and opened their mouths to bite the god bestowment altar and the rooftop. With the 2 altars in their mouths, they flew toward goddess Jichin's statue with more than 800 names and slowly rose into the sky. Boom! They rushed through the sea of providence and continued to soar into the sky. Boom! 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 For a moment, the distant sky was filled with lightning and thunder. Countless bolts of lightning kept striking the 2 dragons. Their bodies gradually faded, but they continued to soar into the sky. They broke through the layers of thunderclouds and soared into the sky until they couldn't be seen anymore. Pray to the heavens! Pray to the heavens! Meng Ziqiu shouted. On the Heavens Gift Square, almost everyone bowed respectfully to goddess Jichin, including Yin Chuan and Sima Yuntian. Everyone was silently waiting. About 2 hours later, boom! There was a sudden explosion in the sky. The sound was so loud that it seemed to resound through the entire world. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 weak golden dragons fell from the sky. They were the golden dragons of providence from before. The 2 golden dragons of providence were extremely illusory, as if they were about to dissipate. Boom! The 2 dragons fell into the sea of providence. Whoosh! A large amount of providence gathered toward the 2 dragons. The 2 dragons fell asleep exhausted. Boom! Boom! 2 beams of golden light fell from the sky and crashed into the sea of providence. Roar! 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 The remaining 3 golden dragons of providence circled around the 2 beams of golden light. The golden light gradually condensed into 2 huge scrolls. On the scrolls were the words heaven and investiture of the gods. Hum! Hum! The 2 scrolls were connected to the power of the sea of providence. Suddenly, 802 beams of light shot down, instantly enveloping the 802 people below. Yin Chuan, Sima Yuntian, and a large number of people who had participated in the battle for the Tiansu. Boom! The endless dark clouds in the sky dispersed. Apart from the 2 scrolls in the Sea of Providence, the world was bright as if nothing had happened. Heaven's gift, Tiansu, an investiture of the gods. The Julu Academy will arbitrate. Everyone, let's decide who the Tiansu belongs to. Meng Ziqiu shouted. Boom! The Heaven's Gift Square trembled. Then, a huge square platform that was 100 feet wide and 10 feet tall slowly protruded. Above the Sea of Providence, a large amount of golden light shone, illuminating the huge platform. Goddess Jichin, please bear witness. The battle for the Tiansu begins. Meng Ziqiu said respectfully. Chapter 544. Jilu City. Heaven's Gift Square. The golden light of providence illuminated the huge arena below. The surroundings of the arena seemed to have formed a huge cover, preventing too much of the impact from leaking out. 2 peerless experts were fighting on the arena. Both of them cultivated their physical bodies and fought with their fists. Boom! 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 Their powerful fists collided with each other, creating a deafening boom. Those who ascended the ring were practically all lower void stage powerhouses. Its might was also extremely vast. One could see the forceful twisting of the air within. If it were not for the barrier formed by the Sea of Providence clouds covering the arena, it would definitely have spread to the surroundings. Guyu Holy Sun sat on a chair with 5 subordinates standing behind him. Among them, Chang 3 and Chang 4 were enveloped in a golden light. It was obvious that Chang 3 and Chang 4 had signed up to compete for the Tiansu. Chang-san, what do you think? Guyu Holy Sun asked calmly. Holy Sun, don't worry. Chang Si and I have both reached the late stage of the inferior emptiness stage. We will definitely obtain the final victory. Changsan said solemnly. Guyu Holy Sun said in a deep voice. Don't let your guard down. 800 people, almost all of them, are in the lower void realm. You guys are definitely not the only ones who have reached the late stage of the lower void realm. Yes, let them fight first. When everyone is exhausted, Changxi and I will join in. Changsan nodded. Holy Sun, don't worry. I'm here to assist Changsan this time. I'll definitely help Changsan win to the end. Changxi said solemnly. Guyu Holy Sun nodded in satisfaction. Father purposely expelled all of you from the Dazhao Holy Land for today. Once we obtain the Tian Su, all of you will once again become perfected beings of the Dazhao Holy Land. Furthermore, all of you will be allocated the same resources as me, perfected lords. Yes, we will definitely win the Tian Su. Changsan said excitedly. Guyu Holy Sun nodded and turned to look coldly at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan was also enveloped in a golden light, but it was the golden light of the God Bestowment Scroll. However, a short-haired lady behind him was enveloped in the golden light of the Tian Su. Do you see that lady? Guyu Holy Sun said. Changsan and Changxi were puzzled. When the time comes, kill him. Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. You Holy Son of the Holy Son of the Holy Land. The Emperor's 5 Emptiness Scroll. The Holy Sun Emperors of the Heavens. Perhaps the Emperor's senses were too strong. He instantly sensed the killing intent directed at him, and turned his head. Of the Holy Land of you of the Tian land of the Holy Land. The Emperor's look was even more contemptuous than that of Yin Chuan. Guyu Holy Sun was enraged. You are just an immortal state warrior. How dare you? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes flashed coldly. The murderous look in his eyes intensified. However, the Emperor was no longer looking at him. It was as if he was a nobody. Guyu Holy Sun was frustrated by the Emperor's attitude. Bastard! Guyu Holy Sun crushed the armrest of his chair in anger. Boom! There was a loud noise in the arena. Pft! One of the fighters spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He had lost. Buzz! The golden light that enveloped him suddenly shifted to the winner. Tian Su had announced the result. I lost. The man who fell to the ground said bitterly. Humph. The winner did not give up, and kicked the loser's leg with a loud bang. Crack. Chapter 545. The loser's leg was broken by the kick. Ha 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 ha, who told you to hurt me? I'll break your leg and teach you a lesson. The winner roared. Meng Ziqiu frowned and said, Fierce barbarian, he has already admitted defeat. Why do you have to kill him? Meng Ziqiu, I respect you as the dean of Julu Academy, but the arena is our battlefield. I'll kill you if I want to. Fierce barbarian shouted. Meng Ziqiu raised his eyebrows and took a deep breath. He didn't say anything, because he knew that those who fought from the beginning would rarely make it to the end. Fierce barbarian was so arrogant that there must be other experts who would teach him a lesson. Okay, fierce barbarian wins. Who else? Meng Ziqiu shouted. Meng Ziqiu's shout made many cultivators consider. After all, it was just the beginning. Only those hotheads would fight so early. At this time, Empress, who was next to Yin Chuan, suddenly took a step forward. Huh. Mou, she said in surprise. Don't worry about her. Yin Chuan said with a smile. Okay. Mou, she nodded. Empress stepped forward. Because the battle had begun, the arena was empty. Empress stepped forward and immediately attracted everyone's attention, especially when she stepped out next to Yin Chuan. Sima Yuntian, Meng Ziqiu, and the others were curious. Fighter Empress. A Confucian cultivator, who was in charge of recording, immediately announced Empress's name. Empress stepped onto the arena. Empress? Countless cultivators around guessed who she was. Ha ha ha, little girl. Your thighs are not even half as thick as my arms. You want to fight me? Fierce barbarian laughed. Little girl, what's your cultivation now? Fierce barbarian laughed evilly. God realm. Empress said indifferently. God realm? Ha ha ha, you're only in the God realm? Although you're a little cold, I like this kind of woman. Fierce barbarian suddenly laughed. Get down now, and I'll spare your life. Empress said coldly. Spare my life? A little God realm cultivator? How about I let you use one hand and one foot? Fierce barbarians stepped forward. Countless experts around them all looked at Empress pitifully. It's over. A god realm cultivator dares to step onto the arena? She came with Yin Chuan? It doesn't matter who he comes with. That fierce barbarian is too fierce. Yeah, what a pity. Meng Man walked over proudly as people were talking about him. You've already lost your chance. The emperor raised his head and narrowed his eyes. Shing. There was a sound of a knife, and a green light flashed. Meng Man, who was walking forward, suddenly stopped in his place. His eyes were full of disbelief. Boom! The head of the fierce barbarian suddenly fell to the ground. Blood spurted 3 feet high from his neck. Gulyalu. The fierce barbarian's head rolled to the side. All the cultivators in the surroundings suddenly fell silent. Wasn't this too fast? If they hadn't seen the bronze saber in the emperor's hand, no one would have believed that the saber attack just now was actually the emperor's. The square was completely silent. After 5 breaths of time, it was as if a pot had exploded. Impossible, she can't be in the divine realm. Meng Man was careless? It must be. She sneaked an attack. Am I dreaming? There was a lot of noise around, but Meng Ziqiu saw clearly that the emperor was indeed in the divine realm. Only in the divine realm? However, this was too exaggerated. How could he kill someone who was at a higher level than him so cleanly? Meng Ziqiu suddenly had a feeling, and a figure suddenly flashed in his mind. Yin Tao. Yes, Yin Tao. 100 years ago, Yin Tao also killed people in this arena with his divine realm cultivation. He won the Tian Su in one fell swoop, and the name of Blood Demon spread all over the world. Chapter 546. Was the Empress in front of them the same? Moreover, she came with Yin Chuan? Buzz! The golden light that was originally gathered on barbarian Meng suddenly gathered on the Empress. The Empress has won. Who else wants to fight? Meng Ziqiu shouted. Meng Ziqiu's shout made the experts believe the truth in front of them. Fight! Who's going to fight now? For a moment, the crowd was silent again. The Empress looked around and suddenly focused on Guyu Holy Sun. Who wanted to kill me just now? Come on. The Empress said lightly. The Empress's words immediately attracted everyone's attention to Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun? Is she provoking Guyu Holy Sun? Suddenly someone was surprised. Guyu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes. Chang San and Chang Si narrowed their eyes, full of murderous intent. They clenched their fists and looked at Guyu Holy Sun, waiting for Guyu Holy Sun's order. What's wrong? Are you afraid now? Come on up together. The Empress said lightly. The Empress's indifferent tone had a huge impact. Many people knew Chang San and Chang Si. They were at the advanced stage of the lower void realm. Was this woman crazy? She was just lucky just now. Now she wanted to compete with Chang San and Chang Si? She even wanted to fight 1 against 2. She's crazy. This Empress is sick in the head. Even if she wants to die, she shouldn't have come here. The crowd didn't believe the Empress, but Guyu Holy Sun couldn't sit back and do nothing. Chang Si, you go. Guyu Holy Sun said lightly. Yes, I'll take this crazy man's head. Chang Si nodded. Buzz! Chang Si took out a long saber and stepped on the high platform. Show me what you're capable of. How dare you challenge me? Chang Si's eyes were cold. Whoosh! The Empress's speed reached a terrifying level. In just a moment, a black shadow shot toward Chang Si like a sharp arrow. Screech! Bam! The sound of the long saber cutting through the wind, and the sound of blood gushing out could be heard. The Emperor stopped behind Chang Si. Gulyalu! Chang Si's head rolled to the ground. Clean and nimble, even cleaner and nimbler than before, too fast. Killed with a single strike. SSSS. 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 Gasps could be heard all around. Chang Si. Chang San suddenly roared. Chang San and Chang Si were blood brothers. How could their younger brother die in the blink of an eye? Chang Si was too careless. Guyu Holy Sun's face darkened. Guyu Holy Sun could see the Emperor's speed clearly, but Chang Si could not. In the blink of an eye, his head rolled to the ground. Shing! Chang San raised his saber and his eyes were bloodshot. He was about to take his revenge on the arena. Chang San! Guyu Holy Sun shouted coldly. Holy Sun, she killed my brother. Chang Sanjiahu said. Stop right there. Guyu Holy Sun shouted. After being shouted at by Guyu Holy Sun, Chang San calmed down a lot. No matter how unwilling he was, he could only listen angrily. He stood behind Guyu Holy Sun and looked at the emperor on the arena with murderous eyes. The golden light around the emperor deepened again. Emperor, who else wants to fight? Meng Ziqiu frowned and shouted. After Meng Ziqiu shouted, the crowd fell silent again. Many people did not know the emperor well. Just now 2 lower void stage experts had died in a daze. The strong cultivators fell silent or started to discuss. The emperor stood on the arena and looked around. Seeing that no one was coming up, a trace of contempt flashed in his eyes. Come up together, the emperor said indifferently. For a moment, the square was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Some cultivators could not believe what they had just heard and dug their ears. Senior brother, did you hear that? What did the emperor say? A cultivator looked at the cultivator beside him and asked. The emperor said, come up together. Another cultivator said with a strange expression. Did I hear wrongly? The emperor's words were like a challenge to the 800 emptiness realm experts. He was challenging all the strong cultivators. Come up together? Come up together. Come up together. Chapter 547. Transin Tian, so come at me together. Arrogant. Incomparably arrogant. The Heaven's Gift Square was in an uproar. There was only one person who was making noise. The emperor who was standing in the arena. A woman in the immortal state. She dared to say such arrogant words after killing 2 lower void realm cultivators. Come at me together? She was looking down on the 800 cultivators who were fighting for the Tian Su. She was looking down on them. Meng Ziqiu frowned and looked at the emperor. Was the woman in front of him too murderous? No, it was more like she didn't care about these opponents at all. She just wanted to get the Tian Su as soon as possible. Sima Yuntian sat on a chair at the side. A disciple served him tea respectfully. Sima Yuntian sipped the tea and looked at the emperor on the arena with narrowed eyes. Then, Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan who was not far away. Will the emperor be in danger? Mou, she asked worriedly. Don't worry. Yin Chuan shook his head. Although the emperor was only in the immortal state, he had inherited the legacy of the most powerful man in the world 10,000 years ago. His father, the knife demon, was even a powerful immortal. It would be strange if the emperor was defeated here. Yes, Mou, she nodded. At the Guyu Holy Sun's place. You're courting death. Chang San looked at the emperor coldly. The emperor looked coldly at the crowd and said, I won't kill those who admit defeat. If you want to die, come at me. Damn it. I'm being looked down on by a little girl? Arrogant girl, you're courting death. Humph. You can live with your sins, but you can't live with your sins. Suddenly, 10 lower void realm cultivators stepped on the arena. Each of them held their own weapons and surrounded the emperor. Even though they were bullying the weak with numbers, the 10 experts didn't dare to be careless. The 2 lower void stage experts who died just now were examples. Moreover, all the lower void stage experts understood that when the emperor killed them, he didn't just chop off their heads, he also destroyed their primordial spirits. 2 lower void realm cultivators were killed cleanly and cleanly. Kill, kill, kill. The 10 cultivators rushed at the emperor almost at the same time. The emperor's eyes turned cold as he stomped his foot. Boom! A vast amount of saber chi instantly erupted from the arena. Millions of saber chi seemed to come from the ground and soared into the sky. It was like a great river flowing against the heavens. The cold saber chi instantly caused the temperature of the entire Heaven's Gift Plaza to drop by a lot. Rumble! Surging saber chi soared into the sky, instantly enveloping the 10 experts. From the outside, one could not see the figure inside at all. One could only see the vast and mighty saber chi soaring into the sky. Hiss! Saber sea? What a terrifying sea of sabers. Is it from the emperor? Is she really in the god realm? The crowd was filled with astonishment. Guyu Holy Sun's expression changed. This sea of knives was too similar to the Jade Emperor's sword formation that he had humiliated 10 days ago. However, one was a knife, and the other was a sword. Guyu Holy Sun's expression darkened as he looked at Yin Chuan, who was not far away. Yin Chuan's expression remained indifferent, as if it was a matter of course. The tens of thousands of cultivators in the surroundings all watched in shock. Bam! The vast sea of knives disappeared from the plaza in an instant. The emperor's short hair swayed slightly as he stood in the center of the plaza and looked around coldly. Pung! 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 10 heads rolled on the ground again. Blood spurted from their necks. The 10 experts all fell to the ground. The Heaven's Gift Plaza fell into silence again. Meng Ziqiu also looked at the emperor with a blank face at this moment. Chapter 548. How many heavenly gifts conferences had they been through? Even Yin Tao wasn't as exaggerated as this. Was this killing? Was this harvesting? All the golden light gathered toward the emperor. The emperor stood on the arena, looking extremely dazzling. He glanced around coldly. Those who admit defeat can live. The emperor looked down at the audience and said, "Those who admit defeat can live?" At this moment, no one dared to criticize the emperor anymore. His terrifying killing speed was simply cheating. How could they compete like this? Standing on the square, the crowd couldn't calm down for a long time. The emperor's gaze fell on a cultivator. I admit defeat," the cultivator said with difficulty. But when he said that, he felt a burst of joy in his heart. The golden light instantly withdrew from the cultivator and gathered toward the emperor. The first person admitted defeat. Next, the surrenders were like a plague, starting from the first person and quickly spreading in all directions. The emperor's gaze landed on all the people who admitted defeat. "I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat." Meng Ziqiu and Louis looked at each other. "Dean, what's the background of this emperor? He's even more exaggerated than Yin Tao." Louis said bitterly, "I'm not sure. Yin Tao, Yin Chuan, and the emperor, these people are all strange." Meng Ziqiu sighed slightly. In the blink of an eye, there were nearly 500 people who admitted defeat in the square. But in the end, there were still people who didn't admit defeat. The last Heavenly Gifts Conference was Yin Tao, and this time it's the emperor? When will it be our turn? If we can't get the Tian Su, we won't be able to live until the next Heavenly Gifts Conference. Since we're going to die anyway, let's fight together. An old man shouted. Okay. Immediately, hundreds of cultivators jumped into the arena. The emperor's eyes turned cold. With a flip of his hand, the emperor took out a golden pill. As soon as the pill was taken out, a refreshing fragrance could be smelled even below the arena. A quasi-immortal pill. Meng Ziqiu's expression changed. "You said that's a quasi-immortal pill? The best pill below the immortal pills?" Louis said in surprise. "That's right, but why is she taking the medicinal pills?" Meng Ziqiu asked, puzzled. The emperor swallowed the quasi-immortal pill and looked coldly at the 100 peerless experts. 100 lower void realm experts surrounded the emperor. 1 against 100. The spectating cultivators all had expectant expressions. It was unknown whether they were anticipating the emperor's victory or the emperor's defeat. Guyu Holy Sun narrowed his eyes and stared at the emperor. 100 lower void realm cultivators besieging him? Even he would be in a difficult situation. Emperor? He was dead meat. Boom! Just like before, the violent saber chi once again enveloped the entire arena. The surging saber chi soared into the sky and enveloped everyone on the arena in the blink of an eye. Roar! Kill this girl. Let's attack together. Quick! Rumble! Within the storm of blade energy, the roars of hundreds of emptiness realm experts could be heard. Then, the rumbling sounds of battle could be heard. Emperors were strong, but there was a limit to it. After all, their cultivation was limited. It was impossible to kill 100 lower void realm cultivators as easily as before. Rumble! Fierce battle sounds could be heard from the storm of blade energy. Just as everyone was looking forward to it, a large number of black clouds suddenly gathered above the Sea of Providence. Rumble! The black clouds gathered, and countless lightning flashed in the black clouds. A vast heavenly might pressed down on the arena below. 49 heavenly tribulations? Someone suddenly exclaimed. Someone is going through the 49 heavenly tribulations on the arena? 49 heavenly tribulations are for those in the consummate stage of the God realm. The God realm cultivator on the arena seems to be. Chapter 549. The Sovereign? Is she crazy? Why is she undergoing the tribulation at this time? Is the Sovereign undergoing the tribulation? Amidst the exclamations of countless cultivators, hundreds of lightning bolts descended from the sky, heading straight for the arena. Rumble. On the arena, lightning bolts and saber chi mixed together. The entire arena seemed to have exploded. Looking from afar, it was extremely resplendent. The surrounding cultivators looked at this scene in horror. Is the Sovereign trying to drag everyone down with her? No, I admit defeat. A scream came from the arena. However, the Sovereign did not answer him. The huge impact was still coming from the arena. Rumble. After an entire incense stick's worth of time. Suddenly, everyone saw that in the storm of saber chi, there seemed to be a vast azure saber chi that was 300 meters wide and 3,000 meters long. Wung. As soon as the vast azure saber chi appeared, killing intent spread out. The surrounding air immediately turned cold in the killing intent. Snowflakes drifted down. The azure saber chi soared into the sky, rushed through the luck cloud sea, and headed straight for the tribulation clouds of the 49 heavenly tribulation. That is impossible. People thought of a possibility, but no one was willing to admit it. Everyone's hearts seemed to have stopped beating as they stared at the azure saber chi with soaring killing intent in the sky. They did not even blink. It was getting closer and closer to the tribulation clouds. Hung. The vast tribulation clouds of the 49 heavenly tribulation were cut in half by the azure saber chi. The heavenly tribulation was cut in half. In the square, countless cultivators were dumbfounded as they looked at the tribulation clouds that were cut in half. That was the nightmare of many divine realm cultivators. Only the heavenly tribulation could trample on people. How could they see a person killing a heavenly tribulation? Killing a heavenly tribulation? That was a joke. But it happened in front of everyone. That graceful saber strike was imprinted in everyone's mind. They might not be able to forget it for the rest of their lives. Rumble. The tribulation clouds were cut in half by the azure saber chi, announcing that the tribulation was over. The tribulation clouds slowly dispersed. The heaven's gift square was silent. Even the saber chi storm in the square disappeared. Most people did not notice it. They just looked at the sky in a daze, looking at the disappearing tribulation clouds. Impossible. It's fake. It's fake. The heavenly tribulation can be cut in half. It's fake. It's fake. Many Shioja trembled. Who else wants to come up? A soft shout suddenly came from the dazed square. This soft shout caused many people to quiver and look towards the arena together. Above the battle arena, Huang stood quietly in the center. There were more than 100 corpses on the ground. Golden light shone around Huang. He was like a god overlooking all living things. 1 against 100, the emperor had won again. Not only did he kill 100 lower emptiness realm cultivators, he even killed the heavenly tribulation. The emperor looked at a man shrouded in golden light. I admit defeat. That person immediately said, I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. At this moment, who dared to doubt the emperor's ability? Before, he was only at the god layer, but he was already so terrifying. Now, after the 49 heavenly tribulations, he was already at the lower void level. Fight. Fight my ass. If you want to die, then go ahead. Logically speaking, 800 cultivators should have fought for several days and nights, perhaps even more than 10 days. However, at this moment, it was going to end in the blink of an eye. Bursts of golden light gathered towards the emperor. Almost everyone admitted defeat. There was nothing they could do. After all, the person in the arena was a freak. He was too fierce. In the blink of an eye, only Changsan behind Guyu Holy Sun was left. Changsan's face twitched. Should he continue? The emperor slowly looked at Changsan. I will count to 3. The emperor said coldly, holding his long saber. 1. The emperor said indifferently. Everyone looked at Guyu Holy Sun. Guyu Holy Sun's face turned ugly. Holy Sun! Changsan said in a panic. Admit defeat? Guyu Holy Sun was still unwilling. His father had finally given him another task. Was he going to mess it up again? 2. The Emperor counted quietly. Holy Sun! Changsan exclaimed. Guyu Holy Sun's face was gloomy. He was still unwilling to agree. The Emperor's long saber shook slightly. He was about to speak. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Changsan exclaimed. At this moment, he no longer cared about Guyu Holy Sun's orders. Whoosh! The golden light retreated from Changsan's body. The last ray of golden light enveloped the Emperor. The Emperor had won. In the battle for Tiansu at the Heavenly Bestowment Conference, the Emperor defeated all the cultivators in the shortest time possible. The Emperor was surrounded by golden light, but Guyu Holy Sun's face was extremely dark. It was as if he had been slapped in public. This was not a slap from someone else, but from his own subordinate. It was even more painful than being slapped by others. However, at this moment, only a few people were looking at Guyu Holy Sun. Most of them were looking at the Emperor in the center of the arena. The Tiansu above the Sea of Providence in the sky suddenly trembled. Ka. The Tiansu left the Sea of Providence and slowly flew toward the Emperor. Chapter 550. The Tiansu gradually shrank into a 1-foot-long scroll and fell into the Emperor's hand. The golden light on the Emperor's body also gathered towards the Tiansu. Phew! The Emperor put away the Tiansu, looked around, and stepped down from the arena. Even though the battle for the Tiansu had ended, the Emperor was still the focus of attention in the Heaven's Gift Square. The Emperor slowly walked towards Yinchuan. Everyone's eyes were also fixed on the Emperor. I'm leaving. See you again. The Emperor said to Yinchuan. Yinchuan seemed to have known this and nodded. Okay. The Emperor walked towards a direction and left the Heaven's Gift Square. The Emperor? Who is he? Does he know Yinchuan? Whose disciple is the Emperor? The crowd was discussing. Stop, you can't leave. Suddenly a voice sounded. The voice attracted everyone's attention. It was Guyu Holy Sun, who squinted his eyes and stared at the Emperor. The Emperor paused and turned to look at Guyu Holy Sun. A trace of doubt flashed in his eyes. You can't leave before the end of the Heaven's Gift Conference. Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. Ha! Yinchuan squinted his eyes and looked at Guyu Holy Sun. Before the end of the Heaven's Gift Conference? Could it be that something big was going to happen? Yinchuan pondered. The Emperor turned his head and ignored Guyu Holy Sun, as if he didn't hear him at all. He continued to walk outside. Phew! Guyu Holy Sun appeared in front of the Emperor in a flash. I said you can't leave. Didn't you hear me? Guyu Holy Sun's eyes turned cold, and a powerful aura gushed out. The aura of the middle void stage was much stronger than that of the lower void stage. The nearby Xiuzha were instantly pushed back by this aura. His aura rushed towards the Emperor, but the Emperor did not seem to be affected at all. He walked step by step towards Guyu Holy Sun. Ka. The floor began to crack under Guyu Holy Sun's powerful aura. But the Emperor still walked forward. Step by step, it was as if he was not under any pressure at all. Countless pairs of eyes around revealed looks of surprise. Slowly, the Emperor walked up to Guyu Holy Sun. The Emperor's eyes stared at the ancient moon Saint Sun coldly. Boom! It was as if a long knife had pierced through the Emperor's eyes and stabbed into Guyu Holy Sun's mind. A powerful will rushed out. The willpower that Guyu Holy Sun was so proud of in the past was so weak in front of Huang Heidao's blade-shaped willpower. It was completely destroyed. Boom! Guyu Holy Sun's soul trembled violently. His mind was in a mess. After a while, he finally woke up from his fear. But his spirit had withered a lot. Jingming's sun and moon attendants. You're the son of the sun attendants? You're only at the second level of the middle void stage, and you dare to stop me? If it wasn't for Jingming, you would have died 1,000 times. Those who block me die, the Emperor said coldly. Stepping forward, Guyu Holy Sun instinctively moved aside. His eyes were filled with shock. The Emperor's terrifying willpower had told him everything. No matter how stupid Guyu Holy Sun was, he did not dare to stop the Emperor. He was drenched in cold sweat as he watched the Emperor slowly leave. At this moment, Gu Yu Holy Sun did not have the slightest intention to stop the emperor. His eyes were filled with shock. A large number of Xiozha looked over curiously. Holy Sun, what's going on? Chang Sang came over and asked in confusion. The Zither Emperor, Chess Emperor, and Book Emperor also came over. Chapter 551. Gu Yu Holy Sun slowly recovered as he watched the emperor fly into the distance. Everyone was staring at him. The ancient moon saint child suddenly felt uneasy. Previously, he was against the emperor everywhere. But now it seemed so laughable. Let's go, Gu Yu Holy Sun said in a low voice. They could not stay here any longer. He quickly left the square with the 4 people and Chang Xi's corpse, leaving behind tens of thousands of curious people. Not long after, on a floating island outside the square, Gu Yu Holy Sun and the 4 people looked coldly at the square. Holy Sun, are we letting the emperor go? Chang San gritted his teeth. Chang San did not know that the emperor and Gu Yu had already fought. Although he could not do anything to the emperor, he hoped that Gu Yu Holy Sun could help avenge his brother's death. The emperor? Gu Yu Holy Sun's face twitched. Gu Yu Holy Sun did not even want to provoke the emperor. He would leave the emperor to his father. We still have important matters to attend to. Although we lost Tian Su, we still have the investiture of God's strategy. Gu Yu Holy Sun shook his head. Yes, Chang San nodded unwillingly. Everyone stared at the Heaven's Gift Square again. In the square, the shock brought by the emperor was slowly digested by the cultivators. The square was also cleaned up. There were 70 to 80,000 cultivators, and 70,000 of them were Confucian cultivators. They were all supporters of Yin Chuan and Sima Yintian. The shock was quickly replaced by anticipation. Yin Chuan, Sima Yintian, and Julu Academy's Confucian cultivators. What kind of competition would there be between the 3 parties? Goddess Jichen, please bear witness. The competition for the investiture of God's strategy begins. Meng Ziqiu shouted again. The square suddenly fell silent. It was still the same arena, but this time, it was not a martial battle, but a literary one. On the arena, Yui led 20 Confucian cultivators onto the stage slowly. Yin Chuan led Spider King, Yifeng, and Mr. Monroe into the arena. Mo Yushi hugged Miao and waited quietly below. Sima Yintian led his 72 disciples onto the stage. Yin Chuan, Sima Yintian, and Yui formed a triangle. The literary battle was about to begin, and the Confucian cultivators all held their breaths. The competition for the investiture of the gods is different from the competition for Tian Su. Do you want to win first and then pass the Jilu Academy's test? Or do you want to pass the test first and then compete? Lui asked with a smile. Yin Chuan and Sima Yintian looked at each other. Test him first. Let's fight later. Sima Yintian and Yin Chuan said at the same time. Upon receiving this reply, Lui nodded. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. As long as you can beat the 21 people on the stage in 2 of these, you will pass. What do you want to test first? Yui asked. Go. Sima Yuntian said indifferently. Yin Chuan and Lui nodded without any objections. As they stretched out their hands, 2 chessboards slowly appeared on the stage, standing between the 3 of them. Yifeng. Yin Chuan said indifferently. Yes. Yifeng nodded. Yifeng waved his long sleeves and stepped forward. The breeze blew his hair, making him look very free and easy. Mr. E. It's really Mr. E. Waves of excitement came from below the stage. Sima Yuntian looked at one of his disciples, who nodded and stepped forward. The second senior brother of the 72 Confucians? Zhang Shun, the best chess player among Sima Yuntian's disciples. Yui nodded and smiled. I've heard that Mr. Yi's chess skills are amazing. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. Chapter 552. With that, Yui instructed a Confucian scholar to fight Zhang Shun, while he walked to Yifeng's chessboard. Dean Yu is going to fight personally? I heard that Dean Yu is best at the zither, and only second in chess. However, he's still a virtuous sage. He's definitely much stronger than those Confucians. Zhang Shun will fight a Confucian scholar, while Mr. E will fight a virtuous sage. That's not fair. There were many disgruntled voices below the stage, but the two sides had already sat down. Yifeng was not afraid at all. Instead, he smiled faintly and said, "Julu Academy, virtuous sage? Yifeng has been looking forward to this for many years." After exchanging some pleasantries, Yifeng began to play his piece. Clap. The two games officially entered the state of a chess battle. Countless cultivators below the stage saw the pieces on the stage through their spells and focused. Yen Chuan, who was behind Yifeng, looked at Sima Yuntian not far away. Sima Yuntian was not paying attention to the chessboard at this moment. Instead, he was looking at the 100 Saints' Righteousness altar in the distance, at Meng Ziqiu and the others. Sima Yuntian narrowed his eyes, as if he was thinking about something. In the distance, Meng Ziqiu looked at Mr. Monroe, who was behind Yen Chuan, with a complicated look in his eyes. When Rua looked at Meng Ziqiu with a pained expression, father and son looked at each other, but for a moment, they were both speechless. Separated by a large number of cultivators, Mr. Monroe bowed solemnly in Meng Ziqiu's direction. He did not say anything, only bowing. Seeing his son's attitude, Meng Ziqiu's eyes flashed with bitterness for a moment, and he sighed softly. Smack! 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 The sound of pieces being played continued. Thank you. Zhang Shun was the first to win. He won for Sima Yuntian. Teacher. Zhang Shun reported excitedly. Sima Yuntian nodded, his expression unchanged. Zhang Shun returned to the 72 scholars. Everyone was looking at Yifeng and Yu. One was Mr. Yi, who had risen to fame 2 years ago, and had never tasted defeat. The other was a virtuous paragon of the Julu Academy, the left yard's dean. Both of their chess skills had reached the pinnacle. Although it was just the placement of a chess piece without any spells, a whirlwind was generated above the chessboard for no reason, as if it was reflecting the danger on the chessboard. Yifeng placed his chess pieces very quickly. Although his eyes were blurry, his style of playing chess was unusually sharp. It was as if he was sitting on the battlefield, arranging his troops in battle formations. Troops after troops were charging toward Yu. Yu, on the other hand, played the most common style of chess in the world of cultivators. It was as if he was the master of a sect, commanding his disciples to attack one after another. Flowers bloomed in all directions, and his skillful moves came one after another. It was as if the experts of the sect had come out to fight. One side was the army of the empire, and the other side was the disciples of the sections. It was like a competition between an empire and a sect. Either the sect would conquer the empire, or the empire would annihilate the sect. Kill! Roar! I'm invincible! As the chess pieces were placed, Yui seemed to hear a magnificent army charging over. Although there were not many experts in the army on the chessboard, the army was full of vigor, as if the heavens were helping them. Every time the army pressed over, the experts of the sects would be unable to resist. Smack! 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 As the chess pieces continued to be placed, Yu Yi's expression turned increasingly unsightly. Charge straight in, 10,000 arrows fired. Yifeng smiled faintly. Clack! Another black chess piece was placed. Suddenly the chessboard changed. Yu, who was immersed in the chessboard, seemed to see the magnificent army gathered in front of the sections. With Yifeng's final chess piece, 10,000 arrows were fired, bombarding the tottering sections. The magnificent army roared and charged into the sections. Everywhere they passed, corpses were strewn everywhere. Everywhere they passed, rivers of blood flowed. The foundations of the sects were instantly flattened by the magnificent army. Clack! The chess piece in Yu Yi's hand was crushed by himself. It collapsed. The Empire's army had already annihilated the sections. All that was left were the scattered remnants. There was no way to continue this game. Yu Yi has learned something. Yui stood up and bowed slightly. Thank you for letting me win. Yifeng smiled and stood up to return the bow. Chapter 553. Mystery 1. Someone shouted from the crowd. Mystery 1. His opponent is a virtuous paragon. Mr. Yi's chess skills are the best I've ever seen. In the square, more and more people worshipped Yifeng's chess skills. The cheers grew louder and louder. Louis smiled faintly, not minding it at all. After exchanging greetings, the two of them returned to their seats. Zhang Shun and Yifeng had won. When Louis returned, the 20 Confucian scholars looked at him with a bitter expression. The Julu Academy was the most popular place in the East. How could it be defeated so easily? What else do you want to compete next? Louis asked. Zither. Yen Chuan said. Sima Yuntian nodded without any objection. Yen Chuan looked at Spider King, who nodded solemnly. Zither was different from chess. It had to be played one by one. Spider King stepped forward, took out a zither, and placed it on his knees. Louis looked at Spider King and picked a Confucian scholar. The Confucian scholar also sat cross-legged on the stage, and the two of them began their zither battle. Behind Yen Chuan, Yifeng frowned. Wang, this Julu Academy is a little strange. I know Louis didn't play the zither, which means that the Julu Academy doesn't care about their losses. Yen Chuan nodded. That means the Julu Academy is deliberately going easy on him? Yifeng frowned. A little bit, but in the previous game he didn't. You have the skill, Yen Chuan said solemnly. Yifeng nodded. Mimicking Yen Chuan, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the center of the square. Ding 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 ding. The two zither experts played faster and faster, and in the blink of an eye, sound waves appeared in the center of the square. Rumble. A huge sound river suddenly appeared in the middle of the two great zither players. Above the sound river, the sound waves crashed into each other like a torrential river. Although it wasn't as powerful as the Tiger Tribe's encampment the other day, it wasn't too far off. Ding ding ding. A smile gradually appeared on the Spider King's face. On the other hand, the zither player's expression gradually turned ugly, and he found it increasingly strenuous. Big wave. King Spider laughed. Boom. In the sound river, a huge wave that was 30 meters tall suddenly appeared and rushed towards the other side. Boom. The huge sound river suddenly exploded, and the entire Heaven's Gift Square was filled with a loud roar. After the explosion, the sound suddenly stopped. Thank you for letting me win. Wang Zhu smiled. The Guqin master got up and nodded. I've heard about it. Mr. Wang's Guqin skills are indeed much better than mine. Who is he? It's only been a while, and he actually won? Spider King, you don't know? King Spider. There were many discussions in all directions. The King Spider had already retreated to the front of Yen Chuan. Prince Yen didn't disappoint. King Spider said with a smile. Thank you for your hard work. Yen Chuan nodded. Boom. There was an explosion in the sky. Half of the God Bestowment Scroll that was connected to the Sea of Providence suddenly left the Sea of Providence, as if it was certain that Yen Chuan had won. On the God Bestowment Scroll, the light that shone on Yen Chuan became more and more dazzling. Yen Chuan has passed the Julu Academy's test, Yui announced. Yen Chuan smiled and nodded. On the other side, another disciple of Sima Yuntian walked out. That's the head of the 72 great scholars, Qin Sei. The audience suddenly recognized him. Sima Yuntian's first disciple? The number one zither player, Qin Sei? Chapter 554. Qin Sei walked out with her zither. On the opposite side, Yen Chuan saw someone familiar from the Julu Academy. It was old Yen, the same old Yen from the investiture hall. Senior brother Qin Sei, long time no see. Old Yen smiled. Qin Sei nodded and didn't say anything. The two sat down and started playing the zither. Ding 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 ding. The sound of the zither rang out. As the two zither masters plucked the strings, a sound river rushed out. Boom! The sound river collided. In an instant another sound river was formed. It wasn't as big as King Spider's, but it was still solid. Ding 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 ding. King Spider looked and said, the two of them are on par with each other. It's impossible to determine the winner in a short period of time. Yen Chuan nodded lightly. As expected, although the people below were waiting anxiously, the battle on the stage didn't end. After 2 hours, the sound of the zither was still there. Sima Yuntian squinted his eyes as though he was getting impatient. Qin Sei, stand down. Sima Yuntian suddenly shouted. Ding ding ding. The sound of the zither gradually faded, and the original sound river also disappeared. Gradually the two sides stopped. Yes. Chinsei stood up and said respectfully to Sima Yuntian. Sima Yuntian stepped forward. What? Why did it stop? Great sage Sima Yuntian made a move. Really? Everyone looked at Sima Yuntian in shock, including Lo Yi, Meng Ziqiu and Old Yen. All of them looked at Sima Yuntian in shock. Sima Yuntian made a move at this time? He wasn't such an impulsive person, right? Yui frowned. Old Yen was on standby. Greetings, martial uncle. Please enlighten me. Old Yen said respectfully. Sima Yuntian didn't even bother to exchange pleasantries with Old Yen. He didn't even sit down. He held the zither with one hand and placed the other on the zither. Martial uncle, please forgive me, Old Yen said solemnly. Ding ding ding. Old Yen was in his most powerful state right from the start. The rolling sound river rushed over. Sima Yuntian's eyes narrowed as a cold smile appeared on his face. His right hand plucked the strings of the zither with great force. Dong 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 dong. With just one wave, it sounded like the sound of a war drum. A huge sound wave crashed into the sound river. Boom! Old Yan's sound river suddenly exploded, and the sound waves were so powerful that they rushed towards Old Yen. Boom! Ah! Old Yen screamed as he was sent flying into the sky by the sound waves. Swish! Like a shooting star, he instantly flew out of the arena and towards Meng Ziqiu. Pooh! In midair, Old Yen spat out a mouthful of blood. He was seriously injured. Smack! Meng Ziqiu reached out and caught Old Yen. Dean! Old Yen said bitterly. Old Yen knew that Sima Yuntian's Qin Dao was strong, but he didn't expect it to be this abnormal. One wave, just one wave, and he was defeated like this? Expert! King Spider's face darkened as he looked at Sima Yuntian. Sima Yuntian? Yu Yi's eyes turned cold as he shouted. That was his disciple. How could Sima Yuntian bully him? Boom! In the sky, the other half of the God Investiture strategy left the Sea of Providence and floated in the air. Large amounts of golden light gathered towards Sima Yuntian. The Julu Academy's test was over. The God Investiture strategy belonged to Sima Yuntian and Yin Chuan. It was just waiting for the two of them to fight for it. Sima Yuntian didn't look at Yin Chuan. Instead, he hugged his zither and looked at Meng Ziqiu. Meng Ziqiu, do you still remember what I said before I left? Sima Yuntian suddenly smiled arrogantly. Chapter 555. The Julu Academy scholars' expressions changed. I said that when I return, I will defeat the Julu Academy. Today I, Sima Yuntian, have returned. I will challenge the Julu Academy in front of everyone. I will use my God bestowment strategy to take away your Julu Academy's providence. Sima Yuntian said arrogantly. I will use my God bestowment strategy to take away your Julu Academy's providence. Hua! Countless cultivators below the stage started discussing. Take away providence? Take away the Julu Academy's providence? Although the Julu Academy was only a mid-tier sect, its status in the East was unshakable. Sima Yuntian wanted the God bestowment strategy? His ambition wasn't just the God bestowment strategy, but also the providence. Roar! 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 Above the Sea of Providence, the three golden dragons of Providence suddenly roared at the God bestowment strategy, as if they felt threatened by the strategy. Literary battle of sages. Take away the providence? Furthermore, he was trying to snatch Julu Academy's providence in front of everyone? They didn't come with good intentions. Not only did they not come with good intentions, but with the God bestowment scroll, it was equivalent to having a sect bestowed upon them by the heavens. Julu Academy was also a sect. At this moment, it was equivalent to a battle between two sects. A battle between sects that accumulated good karma was seen on the market. But a battle between sects that cultivated good karma was unique. There wasn't much providence in the God bestowment strategy, but it was still providence. Was this a battle between two sects? Sima Yuntian stepped forward, his battle intent pressing towards Meng Ziqiu. Fight! Don't fight! Yin Chuan, what do you say? Meng Ziqiu suddenly looked at Yin Chuan. The God bestowment strategy had two owners, Sima Yuntian and Yin Chuan. If the two of them hadn't decided who would win, Yin Chuan still had the right to decide. Sima Yuntian turned to look at Yin Chuan, his eyes filled with battle intent. As long as Yin Chuan didn't agree, Sima Yuntian would definitely attack Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan looked at the providence in the sky, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Fighting for my god bestowment strategy? I wish you victory. Yin Chuan smiled faintly. Sima Yuntian also smiled knowingly. Sima Yuntian placed great importance on Yin Chuan, because until now, Sima Yuntian still hadn't seen through Yin Chuan. This was an extraordinary opponent, and Sima Yuntian placed great importance on him. But today, the most important thing was to wash away the humiliation of the Sima clan. Only by defeating the Julu Academy could the humiliation be washed away. Only then would he be able to comfort the spirits of the Sima clan's ancestors in heaven. Meng Ziqiu today, does the Julu Academy dare to accept my Sima Yuntian's challenge? Sima Yuntian took a step forward and shouted. The 72 disciples also took a step forward, their eyes filled with excitement. The surrounding Confucian cultivators were also very excited. Challenging the Julu Academy? This was something that hadn't happened in many years. Meng Ziqiu narrowed his eyes and looked at Sima Yuntian. The 5 virtuous paragons behind him all had gloomy expressions. Everyone looked at Meng Ziqiu. In the end, you still can't let it go. Meng Ziqiu sighed. Can't let it go? This is unfair to the Sima clan. Why can't the disciples of the Sima clan compete for the position of Academy Master? Today, I will seek justice for this. I will let everyone in the world be a witness, and clear the name of the Sima clan. Sima Yuntian shouted. The Sima clan can't be the master of the Julu Academy. This is an ancient rule. If you can't accept it, then come at me. Meng Ziqiu's eyes became serious. Chapter 556. On the stage of the Heaven's Gift Plaza, Sima Yuntian and Meng Ziqiu each sat on one side of a huge chessboard. Everyone else stood below the stage as they placed their pieces. Yui frowned as he looked into the distance where the paragons of the Julu Academy were gathered. Yui, why is the dean so stubborn? Just one match with Sima Yuntian? A virtuous paragon frowned. That traitor Sima Yuntian dares to challenge our Julu Academy. We must teach him a lesson. Yeah, why don't you let us do it? I know the dean is powerful, but what if he loses? Yui might take over Meng Ziqiu's position after the Heaven's Gift Conference. So Meng Ziqiu had told him many secrets. Everyone calm down. The dean has his own plans. Yui shook his head. I know Sima Yuntian's ability. We might not be able to win, but as long as the dean doesn't interfere, it won't affect the Julu Academy's fortune. But if the dean loses, our academy's fortune will be greatly damaged. A virtuous paragon said worriedly. Yui looked at the sea of fortune above him. 2 of the golden dragons were still weak because of the Heaven's Gift Conference, while the other 3 golden dragons were roaring with the god bestowment strategy. After a moment of silence, Yui shook his head. Everyone, don't worry about it. There are some secrets of the academy that you don't know. It's best for the dean to fight personally. Secrets? What secrets? A group of virtuous paragons frowned. Yui shook his head. If you're willing to give up your freedom and participate in the Julu Academy's administration, you might know. But for now, I'm sorry. The 5 virtuous paragons frowned. Even the virtuous paragons didn't know much about the Julu Academy's secrets. They didn't participate in the administration and could only make suggestions. Seeing Meng Ziqiu fight Sima Yuntian, they could only sigh. Rumble. Half of the ground on the stage suddenly shattered. The rubble slowly floated up and began to revolve around the 2 players. 2 people who were at the pinnacle of the art of chess placed their pieces. Righteous chi emanated from them. The mysteries of the game seemed to have seeped into the surrounding rubble, along with the righteous chi. The crushed stones turned into bright luminous pearls that revolved around the 2 of them in a mysterious pattern. Thousands upon thousands of crushed stones circled around the 2 of them like meteors. It was as if countless stars were revolving in the starry sky. Countless cultivators in the surroundings used spells as mirrors to look at the chessboard on the arena. Poof! Poof! The Confucian cultivators all felt dizzy, and some even vomited blood. Yifeng, did you see it clearly? Yin Chuan asked in a deep voice. In the end, This subject's vision is still insufficient. I can understand this game of Go, but I need time to understand it. Yifeng sighed. It's very difficult to comprehend it in such a short period of time. It's just like the chess game that His Majesty played with me. Although I worked very hard, my vision as a mortal was limited, and I couldn't see much of it. I had to wait until after the game to slowly comprehend it. I've been constantly broadening my horizons in Jilu City for the past 2 years. Now I'll help you comprehend this game of Go. Close your eyes, Yanchuan said. Yes, Yifeng nodded. Yanchuan extended his hand, and countless stars appeared in his palm. The stars revolved around his palm, as if he was holding a universe in his hand. If one looked carefully, they would discover that the trajectory of the stars in his palm was exactly the same as the rubble around Sima Yuntian and Meng Ziqiu on the stage. Chapter 557. Clap. Yanchuan placed his hand behind Yifeng's head. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Yifeng's hair suddenly moved without any wind, as if he was thoroughly experiencing the game on the stage. Yanchuan looked at the stage and imparted all his understanding and analysis to Yifeng. It was only the dismantling of the chessboard and the understanding of it. Yanchuan's many years of experience naturally made him much more knowledgeable than Yifeng. Yifeng seemed to be in the middle of the chessboard and quickly understood the game played by Meng Ziqiu and Sima Yuntian. Rumble. On the stage, Sima Yuntian grabbed a piece and placed it down. His eyes burned with fighting spirit as he pressed forward step by step. Meng Ziqiu frowned. He continued to place his pieces. More and more nature energy gathered in the surroundings, and the entire arena was dyed white by the nature energy emitted by the two of them. Among the tens of thousands of Confucian cultivators in the surroundings, nearly 10,000 of them vomited blood and didn't dare to look any longer. This game was the pinnacle of chess. It rained for 6 whole hours, and the sky was already dark. The righteous energy was even more dazzling. Give me justice. Sima Yuntian placed his piece. Clap. Boom. The rubble surrounding the two of them suddenly exploded. They exploded in all directions. A gust of wind blew from the chessboard, and Meng Ziqiu's piece was suspended in the air for a long time. The hands of the virtuous paragons in the distance trembled. It's over, a virtuous paragon muttered. Clap. Meng Ziqiu crushed the piece in his hand. He looked up at the fierce-looking Sima Yuntian and sighed. You win. Boom. In the sky there was a sudden explosion. Roar. 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 The 3 golden dragons of Providence suddenly let out sorrowful cries. The surging sea of Providence suddenly flowed toward the God Bestowment strategy. The God Bestowment strategy seemed to have a powerful suction force that absorbed the sea of Providence. Roar. The golden dragon of Providence let out a sorrowful cry as its providence flowed away. The surrounding Confucian cultivators all revealed looks of shock. This the headmaster lost. Impossible. How could our Jilu Academy lose? Why? How could the headmaster lose? The great scholars of the Jilu Academy all lamented. The 5 paragons were even more sorrowful. This was the first time in 50,000 years that the Jilu Academy's providence had been lost. This was the first time it had been snatched by someone. Ha 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 ha, father, grandfather, ancestors, open your eyes and take a look. I've won. I've made the Jilu Academy pay the price. Sima Yuntian suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed. As he laughed, 2 streams of tears unconsciously flowed down his face. After so many years of grievances, he could finally get his revenge. Rumble. With this flow, nearly a quarter of the providence flowed into the God sealing strategy. Above the sea of providence, even a golden dragon of providence suddenly lost its consciousness and flowed into the God sealing strategy. Roar. A golden dragon suddenly appeared in the God sealing strategy. Its consciousness was destroyed, but in the God sealing strategy, a new consciousness was born. A golden dragon belonging to the God sealing strategy appeared. The golden dragon circled around the God sealing strategy and roared into the sky. Roar. The entire Jilu city was filled with the excited roar of the golden dragon. The flow of providence stopped. Sima Yuntian had won a quarter of the providence in this game of chess. Countless cultivators looked at this scene in shock. Wasn't this battle of providence a little too easy? Sima Yuntian comforted the spirits of his ancestors. Meng Ziqiu slowly retreated. Chapter 558. Meng Ziqiu didn't look disappointed or sad. The 5 virtuous paragons had ugly expressions. Kui only smiled bitterly. Meng Ziqiu and Kui looked at each other and smiled. Sima Yuntian looked at Meng Ziqiu, after comforting the spirits of the ancestors. Seeing Meng Ziqiu's calm expression, his previous excitement disappeared. Meng Ziqiu was the dean, so why didn't he feel anything? Congratulations, teacher. Congratulations, teacher, for defeating the Julu Academy. Congratulations, teacher. The 72 scholars all bowed excitedly. The tens of thousands of spectators were still in a daze. The Julu Academy was a sacred ground. How could it lose? How? Mr. Monroe stood behind Yin Chuan with a complicated expression. Father lost. How could father lose? On the side, Yin Chuan's hand fell. Yifeng closed his eyes, as if immersed in some memories. Prince Yin, what's wrong with Mr. E? Spider King didn't understand. Nothing, don't disturb him. Yin Chuan smiled. Okay. Spider King nodded. Sima Yuntian received congratulations from everyone. But he didn't see Meng Ziqiu lose his composure. He felt uncomfortable. Looking at the golden dragon roaring in the sky, Sima Yuntian's eyes turned cold as he looked at Yin Chuan. Yin Chuan, come. Sima Yuntian said in a low voice. Sima Yuntian's shout calmed the spectators, and they all looked at Yin Chuan. There was still a battle to decide the god bestowment. Spider King. Yin Chuan looked at Spider King. Spider King nodded. He stepped onto the stage. Start with the zither? Okay. Sima Yuntian nodded. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 zither experts set up their zither. Dong 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 dong. Dong dong dong. As soon as Spider King and Sima Yuntian stepped onto the stage, the power of their zither was maximized. The beautiful zither music sounded like war drums. 8 sound rivers suddenly appeared in front of each of them, and collided with each other. Boom! 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 The might of the 8 sound rivers was vast. Under the huge impact, whirlpools suddenly appeared around the 2. Huge sonic booms instantly filled the entire arena. Rumble! This zither battle was many times more powerful than before, and it was incredibly powerful, forcing the countless Confucian cultivators to continuously retreat. Some of them even covered their ears and fled in terror. How is that possible? Their Guqin Dao is too terrifying. I can't take it anymore. Ah! Countless Xiuzha showed pained expressions. Wang Zhu waved his Guqin faster and faster. Sweat dripped down his face. Sima Yuntian's Guqin Dao was too strong. This was the first time he had encountered someone like this. Sima Yuntian's eyes were also filled with malevolence. His hands were so fast that the shadows of his fingers could no longer be seen. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Pooh! The king spider spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding sound waves gradually disappeared. The whirlpool on the stage also slowly dissipated. Spider King spat out a mouthful of blood and revealed a bitter smile. You won, Spider King said. Sima Yuntian took a deep breath and said, You're very strong. No matter how strong I am, I still lost. The Julu Academy is indeed full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. I didn't expect to lose so many times in just a few years, Spider King said with a bitter smile. Spider King got up with difficulty and walked towards Yin Chuan. Prince Yin, I've tried my best. I'm sorry, Spider King said bitterly. You fulfilled your promise. Rest well. Yin Chuan handed over a pill bottle. No need. The rest is up to you, Spider King said with a bitter smile. Yin Chuan took a deep breath and nodded with a confident smile. Chapter 559. The 39th Wild Sima, it's mystery again. Even the Hall Master is not as good as Sima Yuntian. Can mystery do it? The Confucian cultivators below the arena discussed fervently. Yifeng had already woken up and stepped onto the arena. Sima Yuntian looked at Yifeng, and a glint flashed in his eyes. The second game is go. Let me make the first move. Yifeng smiled faintly. Right after Yifeng spoke, Zhang Shun of the 72 Confucian cultivators suddenly stepped forward. Teacher, Yin Chuan did not even come up. Why do you need to do it yourself? Let this disciple do it for you, Zhang Shun said with a smile. You? Sima Yuntian suddenly smiled. Yes. Teacher, rest assured. Since this disciple dared to step forward, I am confident of victory, Zhang Shun said confidently. The 71 Confucian cultivators nodded. Sima Yuntian smiled faintly and asked, How confident are you of victory? Zhang Shun frowned slightly. He looked around and looked at Yifeng, as if he was worried that if he said it, it wouldn't work. Countless cultivators in the surroundings also stared at Zhang Shun. It was as if they were anticipating Zhang Shun's secret to victory. Seeing his teacher press him, Zhang Shun could only helplessly say, This disciple discovered a flaw in Yifeng's Go style. This disciple and his junior brothers studied Yifeng's Go style. Yifeng has a fatal flaw. Wow. The cultivators below the arena looked at Zhang Shun in shock. A flaw? Yifeng has a flaw? Teacher. Zhang Shun stepped forward and said expectantly, Is it the initial setup? Sima Yuntian asked with a smile. Huh. Teacher noticed it as well? Zhang Shun asked in shock. Setup? The surrounding cultivators looked at Sima Yuntian in shock. Sima Yuntian shook his head and sighed. You fell for it. Ah. How can that be? This disciple studied all of Yifeng's Go games. I can't be wrong. His initial setup was very weak. As long as he made a ferocious breakthrough at the start, he would lose for sure, Zhang Shun said in disbelief. Ha 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 ha, Mr. Yi, why don't you say it? Sima Yuntian suddenly laughed. Although Sima Yuntian was arrogant, as long as it was someone with ability, Sima Yuntian would still give them sufficient respect. Yifeng smiled and said, Mr. Sima, you have sharp eyes. Ah, what's going on? Teacher, what's going on? Zhang Shun asked in confusion. Sighing softly, Sima Yuntian said, That's a trap that Yifeng set up long ago, just waiting for you to fall into it. A condom made long ago? Did Yifeng leave that flaw on purpose? Zhang Shun opened his mouth in shock. Zhang Shun wasn't the only one. Many of the virtuous scholars at the Jiulu Academy had studied Yifeng's chessboard, and some of them were smart enough to notice Yifeng's flaws. They were originally quite pleased with themselves, but now they were told that this was a trap set up by someone else. The paragons immediately blushed. Yifeng's chess is not something you can compare to. Go down and watch carefully, Sima Yuntian said indifferently. Yes, Zhang Shun said with a red face. At this moment, there were tens of thousands of cultivators watching. His arrogance this time made him the laughingstock of the world. Of course, most of the cultivators in the surroundings worshipped Yifeng even more. Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan and said, Yin Chuan? Yin Chuan's expression was still very calm as he smiled faintly. Although there are only 4 people, they all have their own specialties. Zither, Go, calligraphy and painting? You found the best amazing. Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan with praise. Sima Yuntian, rumor has it that you are proficient in the Zither, Go, calligraphy and painting. You really live up to your reputation. Yin Chuan smiled. Zither, you have already lost. Do you still think you can beat me? Sima Yuntian said gravely. Chapter 560. I have to thank you for bringing me such luck, Yin Chuan said with a smile. Yin Chuan's words showed his confidence in winning. Ha 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 ha. All right, come at me together, Sima Yuntian said arrogantly. Together? Surprised voices came from all around. Even Meng Ziqiu, who was not far away, narrowed his eyes. The descendants of the Sima family are indeed arrogant, Yui said with a bitter smile. It's passed down from generation to generation. Meng Ziqiu nodded with a bitter smile. Yin Chuan stared at Sima Yuntian calmly. Mr. Monroe, come and have a painting battle with him, Yin Chuan said to Wenrua. Huh, all right. Mr. Monroe nodded. Aren't you coming? Sima Yuntian asked. Me? I'm afraid you won't be able to handle it, and will blame the rules. Yin Chuan smiled. Ha 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 ha. If I can't handle it, will I blame the rules? Sima Yuntian laughed in surprise. Sima Yuntian was arrogant, but now he realized that there was someone even more arrogant than him. All right, I'll give you one last chance, Sima Yuntian nodded. Prince Yen, I'll try my best. Mr. Monroe said to Yin Chuan again. Yin Chuan believes in Mr. Monroe's ability. But this time, what is Mr. Monroe going to draw? Yin Chuan smiled. Prince Yen, please give me a question. Wen Ruo said seriously. Yin Chuan looked at Sima Yuntian, and then at Wen Ruo. He smiled and said, I want you to draw a painting of great destruction. Huh? Great destruction? Wen Ruo was shocked. Destruction of all living things, extinction of all races, destruction of all living things, destruction of heaven and earth, doomsday. Yin Chuan said with certainty. Mr. Monroe looked at Yin Chuan in shock. His eyes were full of confusion. It wasn't that Wen Ruo didn't know how to draw such a picture. It was just that this drawing was too remote. Moreover, it was very unpopular. Go ahead. Think about it. I trust you. Yin Chuan smiled. All right. Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly. Nodding, Mr. Monroe also stepped onto the arena. When Ruo and Yifeng stepped onto the stage while Yin Chuan returned to Imo Yushi's side. What do you want Mr. Monroe to draw? Can he win? Imo Yushi asked worriedly. Meow. I heard it. Yin Chuan wants Wen Ruo to draw Doomsday. Meow immediately jumped from Imo Yushi's arms to Yin Chuan's shoulder. I don't know whether he can win or not, but as long as he draws according to my instructions, I can help him defeat Sima Yuntian. Yin Chuan said with certainty. Imo Yushi's eyes flashed with curiosity. This heavenly bestowal conference is not that simple. Qing Long, help me do something. Yin Chuan thought for a moment and said. Yes. World of Light. In front of the Divine Light Basilica, Meng Lingtian waved his hand, and a light screen appeared. Everything in the Heavenly Bestowal Plaza could be seen. Dongfang Zhengpai, Meng Rongrong, and 3 other men were accompanying Meng Lingtian to watch the light screen. This Sima Yuntian is too much. He actually stole the fate of the Julu Academy. Dongfang Zhengpai shouted. Meng Lingtian sighed as he watched Sima Yuntian take a quarter of the fate of the outside world. Old Meng, no teacher, aren't you going to do something about it? Your family's little Meng Qi has already lost. Are you just going to let Sima Yuntian take advantage of this fate? Dongfang Zhengpai frowned. He's the only heir of the Sima family in his generation. The Sima family has a very special status. The Julu Academy's ancestral teachings set various rules for the Sima family. They have many privileges in the Julu Academy, but they can never become the dean. Meng Lingtian sighed. Chapter 561. Which ancestor made such a stupid rule? Dongfang Zhengpai said angrily. Dongfang Zhengpai's expression changed as he said bitterly. Teacher, I'm just feeling sorry for the Julu Academy. I didn't mean to offend that ancestor. Please don't punish me by making me copy books. However, Meng Lingtian didn't blame him this time. Instead, he looked at Dongfang Zhengpai strangely and said, It was your ancestor Dongfang Bubi who made the rule. Puffed. Immediately, the other students laughed. What are you laughing at? My ancestor is wise and powerful. Is he someone you can laugh at? I was praising him. Do you understand? Dongfang Zhengpai shouted. Everyone laughed even harder. Dongfang Zhengpai could only watch the Heavenly Bestowment Conference speechlessly. Meng Rongrong kept looking at Yin Chuan on the screen. She bit her lip with a complicated look in her eyes. The Heavenly Bestowment Square. There were 2 easels on the stage, each with a long piece of white paper. Mr. Monroe was looking at one of the pieces of paper and holding a brush in his hand. He seemed to be thinking about how to proceed. On the other side, Sima Yuntian and Yifeng's game had officially begun. Smack! 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 The 2 of them placed their pieces quickly. Sima Yuntian looked at the chessboard with a serious expression. You can understand my layout just by looking at one of my games? Sima Yuntian raised his eyebrows. Yifeng didn't say anything and continued to place his pieces. Yifeng's mana was limited, so he didn't inject any mana into the chessboard. Only a whirlwind appeared above his head. Sima Yuntian seemed to want to play against Yifeng. He didn't inject any mana into the chessboard either. He just placed his pieces normally. In the distance, the Confucians of Julu Academy all widened their eyes, because this game of Go was perhaps more profound than any Go game they had ever seen before. Pa! Pa! The pieces continued to be placed. Mr. Monroe also started to match the colors. Paintings had a lot of colors. Only when they were colorful would they be dazzling. But this time, Mr. Monroe only used black ink. At the same time, he placed a lot of water trays and dripped different amounts of black ink into them, forming a palette of different degrees of black. They were all black, but the shades were different. Bang! Mr. Monroe was the first to pick up his brush. A black and white painting? Haha! With just one color, you want to create an unparalleled masterpiece. Wenrua, your growth really surprises me. Sima Yuntian's eyes flashed with a golden light. While playing chess with Yifeng, he also watched Mr. Wenrua splash ink. Yifeng's chess moves were extremely upright. Sima Yuntian and Yifeng had played for close to 2 hours before the quick chess ended. The speed at which the two placed their chess pieces began to slow down. Gradually, they started Mr. Monroe. When the piece was placed, Sima Yuntian looked at Yifeng in surprise. Where are you from? The art of chess is so amazing. You're even better than the virtuous sages of the academies. May I ask where you learned from? Mr. Monroe asked seriously. Yifeng smiled and said, I'm just a commoner from the countryside. I don't have a teacher. At most, I learned a little from my king. A commoner? You don't have a teacher? Did you learn something from your king? Who's your king? Mr. Monroe frowned. Mr. Monroe, aren't you asking the obvious? Yifeng placed his piece. Yin Chuan? Mr. Monroe frowned and looked at Yin Chuan. Chapter 562. Sima Yuntian and Yifeng were playing chess. The two of them fell into deep thought. Sima Yuntian held onto the chess piece, unable to place it down for a long time. His eyes were filled with solemnity. Yifeng also looked at the chessboard with a grave expression. For a time, no one could do anything to the other. Suddenly, a sorrowful aura surged from behind. Hua! Waves of exclamations sounded out from below the arena. Sima Yuntian and Yifeng's chessboard was too abstruse. It was so abstruse that many people were flustered when they saw it. Most of them turned their attention to Mr. Monroe's painting. He had long heard that Meng Wenrua's painting Dao was world-shocking. Now that he saw it today, it was indeed world-shocking. It was a black and white ink painting, a scene of heaven and earth that had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The earth cracked, and countless volcanoes shot up into the sky. Mountains and rivers shattered, and rivers flowed in reverse. Countless living beings were fleeing in all directions. The scene of fear and despair caused one to feel a sense of sadness for no reason. Mr. Monroe's paintings were very lively. They were so lively that when one looked at the characters in the paintings, it was as if they were looking at themselves running away. Mr. Monroe was no longer using a pen. Instead, he picked up a bowl of ink and splashed it on the painting. Bam! 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 As soon as the ink entered the painting, it began to take shape, revealing numerous pitch-black devil ghosts running about in the ancient world. Gia. Suddenly, a burst of evil laughter came from the painting. Help! Oh my God! God save me! Mother! My son! Voices of despair gushed out from the scroll. Countless Shioja, who heard the shrill screams, felt their hair stand on end. In the painting, the devil was tearing apart thousands of living beings and devouring them excitedly. The sky was falling, the earth was collapsing. In fact, in the image, the sun was shattered and the moon was shattered. Devils appeared everywhere in the world, in every place that could be seen. It was a 30-foot-tall painting, and it was filled with endless suffering. Mr. Monroe waved his pen in the end. Boom! In the scene, a large amount of black fog suddenly gushed out, and within the black fog, a dynamic disaster scene appeared. Just like Splendid Mio and Not Long Ago, this painting could also display a dynamic atmosphere. Ahahaha! Demons roared and swallowed living beings alive. Living beings moved and Shioja could take their place. Kikikik. Some of the more timid Shioja shuddered when they saw the scene. It was so beautiful that it penetrated deep into her bones. However, this was still nothing. Suddenly, the life forms and demons in the black chi seemed to see the cultivators below the arena. Confucian cultivator? Scholars, save me, save my son. A voice suddenly sounded from the screen. Below the arena, countless Shioja suddenly shuddered. Caw 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 caw. There are still 70,000 people over there. 70,000 flesh and blood. Caw caw caw, kill them all. The devils seemed to have also seen the people on the screen, and were about to pounce. It was as if the two worlds could see each other through a thin membrane. Help! Help! Save me! Save my grandson! The life forms inside kept calling for help, and the demons roared and wanted to rush out. However, the two worlds were separated by a thin membrane, and they couldn't come out. It was incomparably mournful and tragic. On the square, there seemed to be a cold wind blowing. Mr. Monroe's painting was finally revealed in front of everyone. Chapter 563. How is that possible? Is that real? They can see us? Emoyishi said in surprise. Spirit creation? No wonder Mr. Wenrua wasn't willing to paint. It turned out that his paintings had already reached such a level. The characters in his paintings were endowed with simple spirituality. Creating spirituality? Yen Chuan exclaimed as he looked at Mr. Wenrua. The great sorrow swept through the entire square. The great calamity infected all the Shioja. All of them looked at Mr. Wenrua's painting with shock and sorrow. Some people even started to cry. Looking at the calamity of the people in the painting, they couldn't control themselves. Sima Yuntian looked at it in surprise. Spirit creation? Wenrua, you've really opened my eyes. You've reached such a level in just a few hundred years. Wenrua put down her brush. Tears fell from her eyes. She was obviously affected by her painting. Below, Meng Zichio looked on silently. Headmaster, your son is really amazing. I'm not as good as him in painting. Spirit creation. No one in the Julu Academy has been able to do that for many generations. A virtuous sage exclaimed. Meng Zichio frowned and looked at the stage. On the stage, Sima Yuntian looked at the chessboard. Mr. E, you can't do anything to me in this game. And I can't do anything to you. If this continues, it will only drag on. Why don't we draw? Sima Yuntian said solemnly. Yifeng looked at the chessboard, and then at Sima Yuntian. He finally nodded and said, Okay. This game of chess had indeed reached a stalemate. Of course, Yifeng had done it on purpose. Yifeng knew that he had too little contact with the cultivation world, and had seen too little of the world. If he wanted to completely defeat Sima Yuntian, it was almost impossible. Hence, he had used a fatal move. He delayed Sima Yuntian, and it was a draw. A draw. Countless Shioja in the surroundings looked surprised. However, looking at the chessboard on the stage, everyone nodded. The strength of the two was not something they could evaluate. Yifeng walked back to Yin Chuan. King, it's a draw. Yifeng smiled bitterly. Well done. Your field of vision is too narrow. Even so, you were still able to draw. In the future, no matter how wide your field of vision is, Sima Yuntian will definitely not be your opponent. Yen Chuan nodded. Yes. Yifeng nodded, his eyes filled with confidence. This was Yifeng's domain. He never thought that he would lose to anyone. Sima Yuntian in the future, he would definitely defeat him. The game ended in a draw. Sima Yuntian looked at Mr. Monroe's painting. Great sorrow engulfed the entire plaza. Everyone's hearts seemed to have been infected by this painting. Even after the chess game ended, there was not much discussion in the surroundings. Everyone was immersed in that sorrowful and despairing atmosphere. Sima Yuntian didn't say much and walked towards his easel. He grabbed a basin of ink and splashed it on the painting. Boom! Suddenly, a large patch of darkness appeared on the painter. Sima Yuntian's brush danced in the air, as if he had already thought of something. He continued to paint at a rapid speed. Rumble! From Sima Yuntian's painting, a series of muffled sounds could be heard. To be able to teach a genius like Wenrua, his painting skills were naturally shocking. Everyone watched quietly. 1 incense stick of time, 2 incense sticks of time, 3 incense sticks of time, 2 hours. Finally, Sima Yuntian's painting was revealed. A patch of black clouds covered the sky. Within the black clouds, lightning flashed. The lightning gathered into numerous lightning-shaped divine dragons that shuttled back and forth within the black clouds. Boom! 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 A series of loud noises came from the painting, like the sound of heavenly thunder, striking the hearts of everyone. causing their minds to tremble, and they quickly recovered from their sorrowful state of mind. Go! Sima Yuntian finished his last stroke. Chapter 564. Boom! In the painting, black smoke rose to the sky. The black smoke rose to the sky and turned into clouds of tribulation. The clouds of tribulation were huge, and countless lightning bolts were rolling in the clouds. Rumble! It was as if the heavens were pressing down on everyone's heart. My tribulation, ah, my tribulation! Someone screamed. No, it's not yours, it's mine. Did this painting draw out my tribulation? Impossible. I'm only at the 4th level of the Qi realm. How can I feel the tribulation? Sounds of shock came from all around. Lightning was about to strike? Vast heavenly might? This painting brought out the heavenly might and suppressed countless cultivators, causing them to lose their judgment. The scene in the painting also seemed like it was about to come out of the painting. Although there were no humans or demons in the painting, the feeling was the same. It almost broke through the layer of film and entered the real world. Another painting that creates spirits? Mo Yushi's expression changed. Meng Ziqiu's group of virtuous paragons were silent. They all smiled bitterly when Ruo looked at her own painting, and then at Sima Yuntian's painting. She sighed and said, Teacher's paintings are always so powerful, using the tribulation to counter my doomsday. I'm impressed. Sima Yuntian shook his head and looked deeply at Wenrua. The heavenly tribulation didn't destroy the doomsday. It's just equal. No one has completely suppressed the other. My tribulation cloud didn't disappear, and your doomsday wasn't pushed back into the painting. Let's consider it a draw. Wenrua looked at Sima Yuntian and smiled. Okay. Another draw. Mo Yushi frowned. Yanchuan nodded and said, A painting battle is like a battle of power. If one side wins, the other side's illusions will be severely suppressed. Right now no one can do anything to the other. It can only be a draw. But, Mo Yushi frowned. Yanchuan shook his head. He wasn't worried. On the stage. In just a few hundred years, your painting has already caught up to mine. In terms of painting, you are more talented than me. I already know that you've been expelled from the Julu Academy. I can only feel sorry for you. There's nothing I can do. Sima Yuntian took a deep breath and said, Thank you, teacher. Mr. Monroe smiled. With that, Mr. Monroe walked down the arena. Prince Yen, this is all I can do. Wenrua smiled bitterly. That's enough. Yanchuan said confidently. As he spoke, Yanchuan stepped onto the arena by himself. As he walked up step by step, everyone around him looked at him with excited gazes. Yanchuan had gathered Spider King, Wenrua and Yifeng. They had all displayed world-shocking power of Wendao. As their leader, what would he do? Yanchuan was the main character of the competition for the investiture of the gods. In the arena, Yanchuan looked at Sima Yuntian with confidence. Sima Yuntian 1 win 2 draws. Yanchuan 1 loss 2 draws. Sima Yuntian calmed himself down and looked at Yanchuan with a frown. You've already lost 1 round and tied 2 rounds. What's the point of the last round? Sima Yuntian said in a low voice. There's still books left. We don't know who will have the last laugh. Yanchuan smiled. Books? Haha. I, Sima Yuntian, am proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. But the truth is that I'm only proficient in books. I'll win. Yanchuan smiled. Chen Ping, one of Sima Yuntian's disciples, suddenly shouted. What a joke. Yanchuan, are you crazy? 4 rounds of zither, chess, calligraphy and painting. You have no chance of winning at all. There is only 1 round left. How can you win? You can't win. Chen Ping shouted. Chen Ping voiced out everyone's thoughts. That's right. The outcome had already been decided. How could Yanchuan say such words? There's only 1 round left. Even if you win, it'll only be a draw. Yanchuan looked at Chen Ping and smiled. Sima Yuntian raised an eyebrow and looked at his youngest disciple. Do you have the right to speak here? Chapter 565. Sima Yuntian raised an eyebrow at his youngest disciple. Do you have the right to speak here? Chen Ping's face stiffened. Please forgive me for my rudeness, teacher. Letting Yifeng play chess for him, letting Spider King play the zither for him, and letting Wenrua paint for him was enough for Sima Yuntian to take Yin Chuan seriously. To be arrogant, one must have the right to be arrogant. Although no one had seen any of Yin Chuan's works since the beginning of the Heavens Bestowment Conference, the previous battles had already highlighted Yin Chuan's ability to be able to make friends with Emperor, Yifeng, Spider King, and Wenrua. How could such a person not be a dragon among men? How will you beat me? Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan curiously. Do you really think that no one can surpass you? Yin Chuan smiled. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting are all books. I've traveled the world for many years and have never met a worthy opponent. The books that my inferior disciples used that day were all written in my spare time and can no longer represent me. You, on the other hand, have 100 poems. They are indeed exquisite, but it seems that they are not enough. Sima Yuntian said in a low voice. Those poems naturally can't represent my level. Yin Chuan smiled. Oh, empty words are useless. Let's see what you can do. Yin Chuan smiled. All right. Sima Yuntian nodded. With a wave of his hand, 2 large tables appeared on the stage, each covered with a piece of paper. The books have been spread out. Please, Sima Yuntian said in a low voice. Please. Yin Chuan nodded. Sima Yuntian did not stand on ceremony. Books were Sima Yuntian's pride. He had never been modest, and he would not be at this moment. He picked up the brush and began to write. Rumble. Sima Yuntian's brush was filled with righteousness. Before the words appeared, an extraordinary aura was born. Million Immortals Pilgrimage Gift. As soon as the title was written, Sima Yuntian's pen moved like flowing water. The brush and ink splashed out, revealing a great essay. The overwhelming righteous energy enveloped Sima Yuntian, making him seem like a resplendent star, incomparably dazzling. Boom! Around Sima Yuntian, boundless righteous energy spread out in all directions. Wherever the brush landed, it was like the source of a river. Boundless righteous energy rushed out, rushing towards half of the square. Why was it only one side? That was because Sima Yuntian wanted to be fair. He purposely controlled his side, so that he wouldn't disturb Yin Chuan on the other side. As a top-notch writer, Sima Yuntian had his own pride. Naturally, he disdained to use such underhanded methods. Yin Chuan smiled as he watched Sima Yuntian splashing ink. A trace of regret flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he muttered to himself. With such talent, it's a pity that he's immersed in these insignificant poems. He took out a jade box from his bosom and took out his brush. Dream Immortal. Dream Immortal. In the past, Xiao Chen and Mo Yushi saw a nightmare in their dreams. They refined the nightmare into this brush. Looking at the Xian paper on the table, Yin Chuan ignored it. Instead, he slowly walked towards Mr. Monroe's previous painting. It was the painting of misery and suffering. Because of the heavenly tribulation, the great sorrowful aura of the painting of misery and suffering was slowly offset. Yin Chuan took a deep breath. Holding the Dream Immortal, he dipped it in ink and suddenly picked up the words on Mr. Monroe's painting. He did not leave any blank space. Instead, he directly covered the entire page. Bitter, 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 the heavenly Tao collapses, all living beings perish, all living beings suffer, the heavenly Tao dies. Chapter 566. As soon as the first 9 words came out, all the spirits in the painting cried even louder. Yin Chuan put down his brush, and golden light suddenly shot out in all directions. It was like an eruption of righteousness, but in reality, it was fate that surrounded it. In the blink of an eye, Yin Chuan and the painting were enveloped by the surging luck. Yin Chuan could not see what was going on inside. He only knew that Yin Chuan was within the range of the luck. He was constantly writing a beautiful poem, and it was a poem that matched Mr. Wenrua's painting. He's actually writing a poem on Wenrua's painting? What is Prince Yin doing? Spider King frowned. This is the first time I've seen His Majesty's poem. Yifeng exclaimed. What? First time? Isn't that the poem from the Peak Literary Gathering? Mo Yushi asked curiously. That was written by His Majesty. But His Majesty said that he didn't create it. Yifeng took a deep breath. If it wasn't created by Yin Chuan, then it must have been written by someone else. He just wrote it down from memory? But those hundreds of beautiful poems have never appeared in the world before? Who wrote it? Emoyushi was puzzled. I don't know. Yifeng shook his head. What's wrong, Mr. Monroe? Prince Yin is a great talent. I'm not as good as him. Mr. Monroe laughed bitterly. Oh, the heavens are bitter, the earth is bitter, the sun and the moon are bitter, the people are bitter, the races are bitter, the heavens are bitter, humanity is bitter, the world is bitter, and the people are bitter. I thought that painting was perfect, because I had successfully created the spirits. However, when Prince Yin wrote the 9 bitter words, I realized that the painting still lacked a true soul. Prince Yin is writing a masterpiece. Mr. Monroe said in surprise. A masterpiece? Spider King said in a low voice. Mr. Monroe didn't want to explain, but there was a bitter look on his face. Emoyushi frowned and looked at Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe, why do I feel that you don't want Yin Chuan to win? Besides Emoyushi, Yifeng also looked at Mr. Monroe in confusion. Looking at the fighting ring, Mr. Monroe smiled bitterly and said, Don't worry, Saintess. I did my best just now. Although I don't want Yin Chuan to win, I didn't slack off at all. Oh, why? Emoyushi asked curiously. Mr. Monroe shook his head. Saint, you don't have to ask. Although Prince Yin is powerful, Sima Yuntian is also powerful. Mr. Monroe refused to say anything, so everyone could only sigh. Everyone looked towards the arena. Sima Yuntian didn't care about the fate surrounding Yin Chuan. Instead, he focused on writing his Pilgrimage of 1,000 Immortals. Pilgrimage of 1,000 Immortals. At this moment, around Sima Yuntian, there seemed to be illusory figures of immortals condensed by righteous qi. Each of the immortals had an ethereal qi. Suddenly, countless immortal herbs sprouted from the ground. As soon as the immortal herbs appeared, they covered the entire Heaven's Gift Square. Someone went to touch them, and found that the immortal herbs were just illusory figures. However, the illusory figures were already very powerful. In the blink of an eye, the Heaven's Gift Square disappeared, and turned into a huge fairyland. Countless cultivators stood in the fairyland. The clouds were ethereal, and the immortals were flying around. It was like a dream. It was as if everyone had appeared in another world. Before he finished writing, everyone could feel the soaring literary aura. Everyone looked at Sima Yuntian, their eyes full of anticipation. The immortals looked around as if they could see countless cultivators. They nodded at the cultivators in the square and smiled kindly. Chapter 567. He smiled at me. That immortal smiled at me. Creation spirit? The fake characters in the words also have spirituality? Too formidable. This beautiful and profound writing has already exceeded the scope of my knowledge. Countless voices of worship came from all around. Jilu Academy, a group of Confucians and virtuous paragons could only look at each other and smile bitterly. This style of writing was too strong. After the 10,000 immortals greeted the surrounding cultivators, they all faced the 100 Saints' righteousness altar. Because of the illusion, everyone felt like they were in an immortal realm. Everything seemed to have disappeared. From afar, they could see the 100 saint statues surrounding Goddess Jichen. The saint statues were constantly emitting righteous energy. At this moment, Sima Yuntian's writing was coming to an end. The 10,000 immortals faced the 100 saints. Whoosh! Sima Yuntian was filled with excitement and insolence. He raised his brush and made the final stroke. With the stroke of the brush, even the brush was thrown out. Bow! Sima Yuntian shouted. Bow to the saints! The 10,000 immortals bowed respectfully to the 100 saints at the same time. Rumble! This bow seemed to cause the surrounding cultivators to bow with sincerity. Bow to the saints! 1,000 immortals pilgrimage bestowment. Once the essay was written, the 10,000 immortals bowed together. Rumble! The 100 saints' righteousness altar and the 100 saint statues trembled at the same time. They moved. The 100 saint statues actually moved? Literature moved the 100 saints? Sima Yuntian's essay alarmed the 100 saints. Someone suddenly exclaimed, "Rumble!" The 100 saints trembled and suddenly burst out with endless white light. Boundless righteous energy suddenly gushed out and soared into the sky. The heaven's gift square was shining brightly because of the 1,000 immortals' pilgrimage bestowment. However, it was the middle of the night, and the sky was still dark. The righteous energy rushed to the sky and rushed to the 9 heavens. In an instant, the white light was extremely dazzling. The 100 saint statues suddenly exploded with righteous energy and became 100 times, or even 10,000 times bigger than before. In the blink of an eye, the entire Jilu city was as bright as day. Countless cultivators in Jilu city were startled and went out one by one. Not only was Jilu city bright, even the sky and earth were bright. It was as if the sky had turned bright in an instant. Countless cultivators rushed towards the Heaven's Gift Plaza in surprise. Literature moves 100 sages. Vast heaven and earth. 1,000 immortals pilgrimage. Hua! On the Heaven's Gift Square, countless cultivators were shocked. This included all the grand Confucians and virtuous paragons of the Jilu Academy. The virtuous paragons who were originally angry at Sima Yuntian were all amazed at this moment. Sima Yuntian, your essays are unrivaled, Yui exclaimed. Rumble! The statue of the 100 saints trembled, as if it was inexplicably excited by the passage. Meng Ziqiu revealed a trace of a bitter smile and said, Sima Yuntian? In his generation, the Sima clan has reached the peak. With such a character, who in the world can suppress him? Long live teacher! Long live teacher! The 72 Confucian scholars shouted excitedly. Sima Yuntian let out a long breath and revealed a trace of satisfaction. At the same time, he looked in the direction of Yan Chuan with a trace of excitement of victory. The 100 saints moved together. I made the dead statue go crazy for my words. What can you Yan Chuan do? The world mourns. Yan Chuan suddenly sighed in the surging providence. Bang! The providence suddenly dissipated. Chapter 568. Yin Chuan's poetic prowess was also exposed. An aura of great tragedy suddenly surged out. Like a vast storm, the atmosphere of great tragedy and sorrow swept across the entire Myriad Immortals Pilgrimage Conference in an instant. Although the Immortals did not disappear, countless demons appeared around them. Mr. Monroe's painting also seemed to appear around everyone. Help! Heavens, save my son! Mother! Save me! Heaven and earth collapsed, and great suffering appeared around everyone in an instant. The originally pious mood of the pilgrimage was suddenly forgiven by the tragic disaster in front of them. For a moment, countless cultivators were at a loss in sorrow. Piety, sorrow, these two emotions collided together. Yen Chuan's poem appeared. Bitter, bitter, bitter. 9 bitter words in a row tugged at the hearts of countless people. The sages of the Jilu Academy suddenly looked at Yen Chuan's poem together. And suddenly, they were all shocked. Disasters appeared around them, and they were on par with the power of the 10,000 immortals. This is an essay comparable to the Pilgrimage Conference. It's a world-shocking essay, and we can't judge it anymore, Yui said with a bitter smile. Yes, these 2 essays are beyond our knowledge. We can't judge. Whose is better? It's hard to say who is better, Meng Ziqiu said with a bitter smile. Bitter, bitter, bitter. 9 bitter words appeared in a row, and Sima Yuntian's face darkened. He knew how powerful Yin Chuan was. The aura of great sorrow hit them in the face, and Mr. Monroe's painting seemed to have come to life. The heavens are suffering, the earth is suffering, the sun and moon are suffering, the common people are suffering, the myriad races are suffering, the heavenly Tao is suffering, humanity is suffering, the world is suffering, and the human heart is suffering. Once the 9 bitter words appeared, the disasters in the original painting were vividly expressed. Great sorrow, great suffering, great disaster, and great calamity. Just as everyone was reading Yen Chuan's masterpiece, no one noticed the statue of Goddess Jichen behind them. The statue of Goddess Jichen, which was twice as tall as the 100 saints, suddenly had 2 drops of tears in its eyes that bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. 2 drops of tears slowly formed on the statue of the goddess, who bemoaned the state of the universe and pitied the fate of mankind. The goddess statue was crying. It was as if she had seen the calamity of the world, the destruction of the world, the collapse of the heavens and the earth. The statue of the goddess shed tears of compassion for the common people of the world. Tears fell from Zhichen's eyes. The 100 saints, who were trembling with excitement, suddenly stopped trembling. The goddess wept sorrowfully, but the 100 saints remained motionless. The vast righteous energy that soared into the sky was instantly withdrawn. The bright sky immediately turned dark again. Night returned to Jilu City. The overwhelming righteousness retreated back into the 100 saints statue, as if the 100 saints statue could not use the overwhelming righteousness at all. The 100 saints felt ashamed because of Goddess Zhichen's tears. They were all crying and repenting for Goddess Zhichen. All of a sudden, the 100 saints retracted all of their righteousness, causing everyone to turn around. She's crying. Goddess Zhichen is crying. Someone cried out first. Goddess Zhichen cried when she saw the suffering of the people. Why would a statue cry? Why are you crying? Almost everyone was stunned by Goddess Zhichen's tears. Sima Yuntian also turned his head and saw the 2 drops of tears falling from the sky. Those 2 teardrops dripped down, as if they were saying something, as if they were pitying something. Those 2 teardrops pushed Yinchuan's 9 hardships to the peak. These were 2 drops of tears of sorrow. In front of Goddess Zhichen's 2 drops of tears, the pilgrimage of 10,000 immortals was so laughable that the 100 saints retracted all of their righteousness in shame. Chapter 569. Goddess Zhichen. The 2 tears of the stone statue. Ding dong. Ding dong. The 2 tears of the stone statue fell to the ground. It was as if the sound of the 2 tears was the only thing that could be heard in the entire plaza. The 100 sages were silent in shame, while the tens of thousands of cultivators were shocked. Meng Ziqiu and the other scholars all bowed respectfully to Goddess Zhichen. Mo Yuxi, Wen Rua, Spider King, Yifeng, and the others all looked at the scene with their mouths wide open. The stone statue shed tears? The stone statue could actually shed tears? Could even the stone statues feel that great sorrow? On the stage, Sima Yuntian also looked at the 2 tears falling to the ground. Seeing Goddess Zhichen's tears, Sima Yuntian revealed a bitter smile. Just 2 drops of tears had already told him everything. Turning his head, he stared at the painting in front of him. With the 9 words suffering, the painting was already perfect. The people were in a terrible situation. What a terrible scene. Who? In the sky, the tribulation cloud formed by Sima Yuntian's painting was suddenly suppressed by a powerful aura and retracted back into the painting. Painting? The situation suddenly changed. The painting battle that was originally a draw had a winner. Sima Yuntian's painting had strangely lost. As for the book, there was no need to talk about it. Although Sima Yuntian's book wasn't inferior to Yan Chuan's, the scene in front of them, the 2 tears of Goddess Zhichen, and the shame of the 100 sages had already told them everything. Goddess Zhichen, the creator of all living things, the mother of all living things, was affected by Yan Chuan's 9 suffering. Even the stone statue can shed tears. This painting is too sad. The 100 sages are ashamed. The goddess shed tears. The eyes of the cultivators gradually became clear. Yan Chuan and Sima Yuntian's paintings had surpassed the limit of everyone's recognition. However, it was easy to deal with, because everyone could see who was better at this moment. Yan Chuan. Yan Chuan's 9 suffering sorrow. This was a huge reversal. Not only was his essay better than Sima Yuntian's, but he also brought Mr. Monroe's painting to a higher level. Victory. Yan Chuan won. Yan Chuan 2 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. Sima Yuntian, 2 defeats, 1 win, 1 draw. Standing on the stage, Yan Chuan looked at Goddess Zhichen in a daze. I don't know what the great ancient calamity is, but I can feel the calamity of the great ancient calamity. Goddess, I don't know how you turned the tide back then, but I'm a part of this world. If I'm strong, I won't let history repeat itself. If I'm strong, I'll protect our world. That's right. I'm the great ancient calamity, Yifutian said. Yan Chuan sighed as he looked at the statue of the goddess. Boom. The sky suddenly exploded, and the god's sealing tome shook violently. The golden light that enveloped Sima Yuntian was instantly absorbed into the god's sealing tome and gathered towards Yin Chuan. There was no need for others to judge. The god's sealing tome had already decided the final winner. Yin Chuan's 9 suffering sorrow could feel the world. Victory was well deserved. Sima Yuntian looked at the golden light that surrounded him disappearing. He reached out to grab it, but the golden light did not return. Sima Yuntian showed a hint of bitterness. Then, Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan again. There was no jealousy, only a desire to fight. A desire to fight that refused to admit defeat. In the world of light, Meng Lingtian and his 5 disciples quietly watched the heavenly bestowment convention on the screen. Chapter 570. What a powerful Sima Yuntian. Meng Lingtian frowned. Powerful my ass. Wasn't he defeated by Yin Chuan in the end? The goddess actually shed tears because of this. Dongfang Zhengpai shouted excitedly. Meng Lingtian did not blame Dongfang Zhengpai for his rudeness. At this moment, Meng Lingtian was also shocked by the 2 top-notch articles. It's been a long time since an article of this level appeared. The sorrowful goddess? Amazing! Meng Lingtian exclaimed. Yeah, it's too amazing. The 3 disciples behind him nodded. It's a pity that these 2 aren't from the Jiulu Academy. Meng Lingtian smiled bitterly. Meng Rongrong looked at Yin Chuan on the screen. After Yin Chuan finished writing, he kept looking at Goddess Jichen. His eyes were filled with pity. That expression made Meng Rongrong's heart flutter. Biting her lips, Meng Rongrong's expression softened. Heaven's Gift Plaza on the stage. While tens of thousands of cultivators were exclaiming, Yin Chuan looked at Goddess Jichen and sighed. Then, Yin Chuan looked at Sima Yuntian. Although the 72 disciples were filled with sorrow, Sima Yuntian revealed a carefree smile. He didn't seem to care about losing the right to enter the God Bestowment Scroll. The taste of defeat, ha. It's been a long time since I've experienced it, Sima Yuntian said. I'm Yin Chuan. I live in the East Sea. If Mr. Sima has time, you can come to my place anytime. The worry-free city of the East will know any news about me. Yin Chuan said solemnly. Sima Yuntian looked at Yin Chuan and nodded. Mr. Yin, I will remember you. I admit defeat in this battle, but I will still look for you. When my style of writing becomes better, I will definitely look for you. The Yin family's door is open for you. Yin Chuan cupped his hands towards Sima Yuntian. Sima Yuntian smiled and cupped his hands as well. Ha. Waving his sleeves, Sima Yuntian stepped off the stage. Teacher, we lost. Teacher, what should we do? The 72 disciples stepped forward one after another, each of their faces filled with grief. Defeated? Their teacher had never tasted defeat in so many years. Yet he was defeated today. The determination in their hearts crumbled, and everyone revealed sorrowful expressions. Ha, it's nothing. I lost this time, I'll win it back next time. Let's go. Sima Yuntian said in a carefree manner. Yes. All the disciples nodded. Following behind Sima Yuntian, everyone slowly left the Heaven's Gift Plaza. In this battle, Yin Chuan became the biggest winner. Tens of thousands of Shioja sent Sima Yuntian off with their eyes. No one urged him to stay, and no one stopped him. They just watched as Sima Yuntian slowly left. As the sun rose from the east, Sima Yuntian led his disciples and left. A virtuous paragon and 72 disciples with a flourishing literary style walked towards the morning sun, leaving behind their long shadows. Rumble. In the sky, the god's bestowment strategy slowly shrank into a foot-long scroll and slowly fell into Yin Chuan's palm. On the god's bestowment strategy, a golden dragon revolved around it and gradually flew into the god's bestowment strategy. Roar. The golden dragon roared joyfully. Yin Chuan's god's bestowment strategy was different from the previous ones. It contained a quarter of the luck obtained from the Jiulu Academy. Mo Yushi, Yifeng, and the others revealed excited smiles. Spider King frowned and fell into deep thought. Mr. Monroe, on the other hand, revealed a trace of bitterness. The god's bestowment strategy was getting closer and closer to Yin Chuan. Chapter 571. Stop. You can't have the investiture of the gods. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the heavens gift square. Everyone's expression changed. Who is it? Who dared to disturb the heavens gift conference at this time? Whoosh! Guyu Holy Sun brought Chong San and the others to the heavens gift square again. Guyu, what are you doing? Emoyushi glared at him. The righteous chi in the one duel was too strong, and the innumerable immortals' pilgrimage bestowment formed a new world. Therefore, the people outside could not see what was going on. Guyu Holy Sun did not see what was going on inside, but when he saw Sima Yintian leave, he knew that the outcome had been decided and immediately flew over. Yen Chuan, you can't have the investiture of the gods, Guyu Holy Sun said coldly. Standing alone in the arena, Yen Chuan looked at Guyu Holy Sun and smiled faintly. How dare a loser like you speak so arrogantly? What did you say? Guyu Holy Sun shouted. Go back to where you came from. The investiture of the gods is mine. No one can interfere. Yen Chuan glared at him. A cold aura rushed towards the ancient moon saint child. The ancient moon saint child's face changed. It was fine that he was slapped in the face by the emperor, but now this brat Yen Chuan also wants to slap my face? Just as Guyu Holy Sun was about to get angry, a loud sound suddenly came from the void. How arrogant! Boom! These 5 words were like heavenly thunder, exploding in everyone's hearts. Almost everyone's mind was shaken. Meng Ziqiu Yue and the others' faces darkened, and they all looked dignified. Yen Chuan narrowed his eyes. Buzz! In the distance, the sun suddenly shone a vast golden light beam. A powerful aura gushed out from the golden light beam. As soon as the aura was released, a huge pressure came and pressed down on the entire square. A powerful aura surged violently. Yifeng looked like he couldn't take it anymore. Emoyushi waved her hand and stood in front of Yifeng. Yen Chuan stood quietly on the stage, his eyes cold and gloomy. On the other side, Meng Ziqiu stepped forward with a frown. A man in a golden Taoist robe suddenly appeared in the golden pillar of light. The man floated in the air and emitted a domineering aura. Welcome back, father. Guyu Holy Sun said excitedly. Within the golden pillar of light, Mohina Dojin had descended. The pinnacle of the world, Mohina Dojin. Greetings, Mohina Dojin. Countless cultivators bowed respectfully. Yen Chuan didn't bow. Instead, he looked on coldly and continued to reach for the god investiture scroll. Bastard! How dare you act so impudently in front of this Taoist lord? Mohina Dojin suddenly shouted. Emoyushi's expression changed. Emoyushi could tell that Mohina Dojin was targeting Yen Chuan. Emoyushi panicked and was about to step forward, but Meng Ziqiu was the first to speak. Mohina Dojin, do you want to break the 50,000-year rule and start disrupting the Heavenly Bestowal Conference? Meng Ziqiu's eyes darkened. Meng Ziqiu's cultivation wasn't as high as Mohina Dojin's, but the Julu Academy had its own resources and its own extraordinary abilities. Naturally, they couldn't submit to Mohina Dojin now. Meng Ziqiu, I didn't break the rules. I have a share of the God Investiture Scroll, Mohina Dojin said flatly from within the golden light. Oh, Meng Ziqiu's expression darkened. When Rua you say it. Mohina Dojin immediately shouted. Instantly, almost everyone turned to look at Mr. Monroe. Mr. Monroe's face showed a hint of bitterness. Guyu Holy Sun immediately laughed. When Rua, tell everyone. Are you helping my father fight for the God Investiture Scroll, or Yen Chuan? Chapter 572. When Guyu Holy Sun asked, almost everyone was surprised. Mr. Monroe? Although Mohina Dojin did not sign the life tablet, Mr. Monroe contributed to Yen Chuan's victory. Mr. Monroe's position was very important. If he fought for Mohina Dojin, although it was a bit far-fetched, Mohina Dojin had a moral standing. The whole place was silent. Mr. Monroe was bitterly pushed to the top of the wave. When Rua looked at her frowning father and smiled bitterly. When Rua looked at Emoyushi and smiled bitterly. When Rua looked at Yen Chuan with a bitter expression. This was the reason why When Rua did not want Yen Chuan to win. Yen Chuan stared at When Rua. When Rua closed her eyes, as if she was suffering in her heart. When Rua, Mohina Dojin said in a low voice. When Ruo opened her eyes and looked at Yin Chuan guiltily, she said bitterly, I fought for Mohina Dojin. Wow. Suddenly, there was a sound of surprise. Everyone looked at Mr. Monroe with disdain. No one dared to criticize Mohina Dojin for taking things by force. However, in today's battle, Yin Chuan had won completely. How could he be so thick-skinned as to take the god's investiture strategy at this time? When Ruo was condemned by everyone, her face was full of sorrow, and she could only smile bitterly. Meng Ziqiu looked at his son with mixed feelings. Yin Chuan looked at Wen Ruo and suddenly smiled. Mr. Monroe. Yin Chuan opened his mouth. The Heaven's Gift Square suddenly became quiet. After all, Yin Chuan was the main character today. The person involved was going to be taken by Mohina Dojin. Everyone was loyal to Yin Chuan, but they had no choice but to submit to Mohina Dojin. Mohina Dojin's coercion was like forcing all Confucian cultivators to give up their dignity. But there was really no way to resist. Mohina Dojin's strength had long become a legend. They were one of the most powerful people in the world. Mohina Dojin's oppression and Mr. Monroe's betrayal made everyone look at Yin Chuan with sympathy. He didn't know what Yin Chuan was going to say. Prince Yin, I'm sorry, Mr. Monroe said bitterly. Looking at Mr. Monroe, Yin Chuan did not reprimand him, as everyone had been waiting for. Instead, he saw Yin Chuan smile. Mr. Monroe, you owe me again, Yin Chuan suddenly said with a smile. Yin Chuan owed him again. The last time was in the Immortal City, when Yin Chuan and Mr. Monroe played chess. Yin Chuan deliberately did not defeat Wen Ruo, so Wen Ruo owed Yin Chuan once. This time, Wen Ruo went back on his words and owed Yin Chuan once again. Wen Ruo showed a trace of bitterness and solemnly bowed to Yin Chuan to express his deep regret. Yin Chuan understood that Wen Ruo was also forced by Mohina Dojin. As for what he was forced to do, Yin Chuan did not understand, but he could feel that a person who valued his reputation as his life actually went back on his words in front of the world. This meant that he had something more important than reputation that was controlled by Mohina Dojin. Yin Chuan, give me the investiture of the gods, Mohina Dojin said calmly. His tone was full of great majesty that despised everything. Yin Chuan looked at Mohina Dojin's virtuous Dharma idol in the golden light. He smiled slightly, and a trace of ferocity flashed in his eyes. Whoosh! His hand suddenly grabbed the investiture of the gods that was falling from the sky. You want to threaten me with a mere virtuous Dharma idol? Yin Chuan said with a glare. For the first time, in front of outsiders, Yin Chuan changed the way he addressed himself to I. Although the word I was simple, it carried a deep meaning. When the word I came out, it meant that Yin Chuan was ready to fight against the world. When the word I came out, it was a declaration of war against the world. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.